bunch of hybrid psych addictions with water, you're going to shit yourself.
Right.
So, but you can charge half the price, you know? And so it's like, it's really difficult because the consumer doesn't know these things.
James.
When my wife and I, when we first moved to those Harbors apartments, we moved back. So my wife was always brilliant, had a full ride scholarship to law school, full ride to Valparaiso Law School. We moved down there. She tells me she doesn't want to be a lawyer, which I knew she don't. She's not a lawyer. We didn't know what we were going to do, so we moved back to Michigan. And so technically for a day, we were homeless because she found some apartments. This is like kind of pre-internet. There was internet, but you didn't like go on the internet to find stuff. You could barely load a picture.
Sure.
We get to this apartment complex, and there's cars on blocks. There's kids running around in diapers. Like, if you're wearing diapers, you shouldn't be running. By the time you're able to reach full speed, you should be out of...
Was this like South Detroit? Like,
yeah, it's not the best area. This is like 7-year-old kids wearing, diapers, like with a bag of nickels just hanging behind them.
It's a good deal staying there, though.
There's 7 loads flopping around, and dirt and filth everywhere, and she just started bawling and said, I can't live here. And, we put like a $100 deposit, and we didn't have $100, period. So she's like, I can't live there. So she made me go in there and tell them that we weren't going to stay there, and we didn't have a place to live. And we had no jobs. So for that night, we lived in the U-Haul van. And the next day, we went to the Harbors. And because we had no jobs and no money, we had to buy 6 months rent up front at 26% interest.
Dang.
Oh. Yeah, so people complaining about like, mortgages are 7% now.
Yeah.
We were paying 26%. But anyways, we still had no jobs. We had no money, no anything. And I'm not the type of person who would ask for help ever. So no one knew. No one in my family knew. My dad, and we had zero food. Yeah. And so my dad came to visit because he kind of worked in the area. And I think Jordan was in school. And, you can like find food at school. She went back to pre-med. She ended up becoming a dentist. But I had no food. I hadn't eaten all day. I don't remember the last time I ate. And my dad was like, hey, what are you doing? Let's go to Tim Hortons. I was like, okay, that's cool. I ordered like 14 turkey sandwiches. He's like, man. He's like, you hungry, huh? I was like, yeah, it's just, I kind of forgot to eat lunch. But I hadn't eaten in like 36 hours. And I was trying to be a bodybuilder. I was 250, Oh, man. And I don't think he ever knew that or knows that story or anything. He just knows that he spent like $180 on Tim Hortons.
That's right when we met, too.
Yeah. It's right,
World Gym.
Yeah, it was right around that time. I had no money there. I think I got a free, I think somehow I talked my way into a free membership there because I didn't have money for it.
Well, they were thinking about, they were trying to recruit you to work there as a trainer.
Oh, yeah.
But they kept bouncing checks. When I was working there, I was the only trainer, so I pulled him aside. I saw he was, thought he was married and stuff. I was like, and I was, a couple years younger, so I was single, and I'm like, listen, I'm not being a territorial trainer. I know you don't know me. I'm like, but you do not want to work here. I'm I'm going to be leaving soon and this and that. And then, just kind of over the next couple of weeks or whatever, we started to train together. And then
those are tough times because I ended up working as an exercise physiologist and a nutritionist for a cardiology group through the Beaumont Hospital Health System, which is a top 10.
Yeah, Beaumont's great. I've heard. Yeah,
top 10 in the world. Great heart system, but like I did stress tests and they worked me I couldn't do that job again. I'm like a dog. A stress test takes 45 minutes and takes 15 minutes right up after. Yeah. And I worked an 8-hour day with a lunch, and they scheduled at least 8 every day. So it was impossible. It was just I never sat down. And I remember thinking every day, like, I can't do another day of this. But it got worse because after we left there, we had to drive to space to bounce at the largest nightclub in Detroit, this 4-story nightclub with a 300-pound dominatrix, 6'5" transvestites, back before people actually were.
Damn.
They had little people with whips walking around. What else did they have?
Yeah,
shows.
Fireworks in there. There was all kinds of crazy stuff.
They do like a Jordan Belfort, Wolf of Wall Street, like throw them against the target kind of thing.
Wild. But because with the supplement company, we're working our butt off now. I'll text him at 2 a.m. and he's replying. Yeah. And just putting it. And our slogan is all in. Right. We are all in, but it's a piece of cake because back then it was get up at 4:30 to go train at World Gym because I had to be to work at 7. Yeah. And then I had to be after work then because I was training for the Mr. Michigan. Then I had to go back and do cardio before driving to space. And if there was a fight at Space, which there always was a fight. Yeah. We had to give a police report. I wasn't getting home till 4:30 in the morning. So those were 24-hour days. It's like, when do you sleep? And you didn't, because there was, remember that back alley?
Yep.
Or not back, if you went up the one upstairs room at the second Space, the one in Pontiac, there was like a back stairwell with a hidden door. You know, the wall was back.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like anyone, like if they really looked, could have seen it. But like you'd reach the point where you could not stay awake anymore. And you can stay awake 24-hour day.
Sure.
You can't do like forever, you know?
Yeah. You hit a wall.
Yeah, like, because that was multiple times a week, you know, and then a full-time job. And then,
well, you used to sleep in that back.
Yeah, that's what we do.
So they put me in the front to greet people, so I never got to sleep.
Oh,
but hey, welcome to, have your IDs out. Blah, blah, blah. I was a door guy, you know. So
I'd tell Tony, I'd say, Tony, I can't, I'm out. At any minute, I'm just going to collapse. I said, I'm going to the back stairwell. Give me 20 minutes. And then 20 minutes later, he'd be nudging me. Oh,
and you're training for like a pro show during this entire
Mr.
time?
Michigan,
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like, times were tough. But
how long ago was that? What year would that have been?
2004, yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, I was in school and I was a trainer and coaching. So we would get up and train. That's kind of the joke was like, you know, we would train 5:30 a.m. and Justin would be explaining cellular respiration to me and breaking down what I'm learning in school. And it was like, you know, I was taking graduate level classes and breezing through them. They're like, what did you do before this? I'm like, I trained with this guy at the gym that happens to know a lot about this.
We did legs.
We did legs. In between sets of, you know, 20 set widowmakers of squats, you know.
And that's the thing too, because we trained hard. Like,
we didn't realize how hard it was back then.
I didn't realize.
Now we know, you know.
Yeah, until I trained with other people. I didn't know any better because my first place I trained was at a place called Birchwood Athletic Club. They called it, what do they call it? It wasn't, they didn't call it that. They called it like the racquetball court. You know?
Okay.
But it was basically like a racquetball court with a few, and there was a guy, Mike Hickey, from the same high school who got bit by the iron bug. And so we didn't know anything about training. So we'd read things like how you had to do 10 sets of 10 on squat. Or it wasn't a hard leg workout if you didn't puke.
Is that like the German interval training?
Yeah,
like
we didn't. I don't know. It was whatever Weeder was feeding us, you know. It was like, but like what we read, like that, you know, someone said like they don't consider it a good leg workout unless someone throws up. And so we decided that but the problem was, the other problem was, back then the thing was don't eat before training because you want natural GH production. So there was nothing to throw up. So like we were nearly dying. So we made a decision, Mike and I, that we would eat a can of SpaghettiOs on the way to the gym on leg day.
So you had something to puke.
And it worked. And a hilarious story one time, because like such dumbasses. I mean, like we were in high school, like in the summer. We should have been we drove past a beach to get to the gym to do this stupid shit. Like we should have been at the beach picking up girls, you know, like doing the things like that a normal guy would do. But a funny story is one of these times we did legs, and as we're passing the beach with the entire, because it's like it's Port Huron, Michigan, and there's this main one beach everyone's always at, and right as we're driving past after legs, Mike's leaning out the window, throwing up SpaghettiOs, and every single hot girl at school saw it.
Nice.
That's your pickup line?
Yeah.
Just start puking.
Well, and then fast forward a couple years later, and it was, I remember you kicked me out of the leg room at World Gym. It's like 5:15 in the morning, and again, we're eating uncooked. Like we didn't, you had a wife, but I was an idiot. So we were both like eating raw food, like didn't have time to fully cook it, whatever. I like drop a bomb in there during squats.
Oh, God.
And he got and Justin does not get mad. He had this look. He was so pissed because it stunk so bad that he's like, you got to get out of here. Like kicks me out of the leg room. I'm like up, like I'm in trouble. I can't stay down here.
Yeah. Well, that was because you didn't know I trained at small little gyms.
Right.
You know, like the Birchwood Athletic Club, courtrooms, that's what they call it. Courtrooms, just some old people playing racquetball. I didn't know any different. You read what you read in the Weeder magazines, and they just exaggerated everything. It wasn't until YouTube came out, and because Steve Kukla was our third partner.
Okay.
It wasn't until YouTube came out, and we started putting our workouts a little bit on YouTube, and they were blowing up. And we were like, well, what's this all about? And everyone was like that's like that was my first Insta famous moment was. Because we didn't know any better. That's just how we worked out. We trained at small gyms. I never met a bodybuilder. So I thought every bodybuilder did 405 for sets of 20 on squats, or 600 for sets of 10.
For sets of 20.
Well, the throw up thing evolved, at least for me, because I don't know if Steve ever did, but you got a bloody nose a couple times. So that was the new test.
I remember I blew through my forehead at one time.
No way.
Yeah.
Like,
so I'm like,
vessel?
Yeah.
I'm like, damn it, I'm not pushing her enough. Like, I can't get a bloody nose. Like, I'm ready to pass out. Like, I puked twice, but my nose isn't bleeding. I'm like, so Justin's in there again. There's still 4 more sets, and he's got a bunch of wadded paper up there. I'm like, that just looks so badass. Like,
didn't know any different because same thing. Then Steve came in and he trained like an animal, and there was still really no one else at the gym.
Yeah.
It wasn't until we put it on YouTube, and we're still like, it's still like as a kind of a little source of pride of, they're old now, but there used to be a whole list of like strength compilation videos, 1, 2, 3, like through 10, and there's sets of us in every single one of them, awesome. With like legitimate Olympic lifters doing legitimate feats of strength.
You got Phil Heath, and then you guys right after.
We did. It wasn't, and I really learned the difference, like how hard we train when. Because I went back to grad school for physics, and so for a while I didn't train, and I started training again with a guy who was a big guy. I won't say his name, Randy. It's not you, but with a big guy, and we got like 5 or 6 workouts in, and I told my wife, I was like, I got to ditch this guy. I feel bad. I don't know how to do it. I said, these workouts are pathetic. Yeah. And then I go on Facebook and I see him make a post about how insanely he's been training, and he's never been so sore, and this is like a magical time, sore for days, can't even get up in the morning, and I was like, man, we really did train hard back in the day. I couldn't do it again, but
Crazy. So how'd you guys get into then like supplements? So obviously you guys had a foundation in training forever.
So I always said I will never do a supplement line.
I was about to say that.
Yeah. I would always say, seriously, I would never do a supplement line because
why? How come?
Pay attention. Pay attention to the supplement companies that came up. Like Kevin Levrone had one. Old School Labs had one. Phil Heath had a company. Jay Cutler had a company. Think of all these companies that pop up. How long do they last? 5 years tops, right? Yeah. So there's 2 ways to make a supplement company. One, find someone with more money than brains and this happens a lot because a lot of guys get really wealthy and they spent their whole 20s, 30s, and 40s not paying attention to their health or their physique. And now they're wealthy and they kind of get into bodybuilding or idolize bodybuilders. Kind of want, that's like a new thing they appreciate.
Yeah.
Find someone like that to fund your supplement company. Pay yourself a big fat CEO salary until you go bankrupt in 5 years. Yeah. And you see if you notice a lot of these names that come up. And when I say like Kevin Levrone, I don't see he did anything wrong. Sure. But I guarantee it was. It was a capital firm, someone with money, that liked him, put that together, hey, just be the name of it. Yeah. But because supplements, they're very difficult to make money. Mm-hmm. You can either do that, or you can do the path we took, which is self-funded, lay every penny you have on the line repeatedly, write yourself 0 salary, never take a paycheck from the company for years, and run like a completely lean ship, because I used to be in engineering also. If anyone's heard of Kaizen, the Japanese lean engineering. Okay. I went through a program at University of Michigan, lean through their engineering systems and design program. Okay. Lean engineering, and it's basically the Toyota approach to be as efficient as possible. Yep. And so that's what you do, where you're as efficient as possible, which is like us driving here,
Sure. Yeah.
Not spending money on the drive.
You guys didn't roll in first class in the rolls.
The helicopter was out back. You guys didn't hear it.
We've been a company over a year. I've taken 0, not even a penny of salary, and no intention to for quite some time because every penny goes right back into it. And if you're smart enough and clean enough and lean enough and produce, and the next step, obviously the biggest one, is to actually produce good products. Right. But the problem is, you can produce a shit product with a ton of marketing and make a quick buck.
Sure. Right. Yeah. Look at McDonald's.
Or you can produce a good product and with no financial backing and really put in the legwork to educate people to prove, that it is a good product. And eventually, if things go right down the road, you'll cross the barrier.
Just to jump in on the story there a little bit too. So, that's one of our big focuses though, is educational content. Cause why is this bottle 35 and this one's 25 or whatever? And it's, to explain the value of the ingredients and the differences in it, which is where Justin comes from. But if you take a step back, I mean, gosh, it probably was almost 20 years you were doing this, because I remember getting in trouble with my mom as like a 19, 20-year-old competitor. And I've said this on some other podcasts, but he would have us order all separate powders and mix and make our own stuff. So like we have a product called Field Rations, which is a hybrid of the ingredients compared to what we used back then, but it's a similar formulation he put together. And it was like, all right, I got some sodium, I have a certain carbohydrate supplement, some amino acids, blah, blah, and like mix them, we'd shake and, drink it at the gym. And I used to always get in trouble because there's always, I mean, you remember, there's powder everywhere. You got in trouble with your wife
house
and
still is coated with
powder.
They're going to take the hardwood floors down 80 years.
Yeah.
Look like some, drug kingpin's house or something, it's like, there's like stuff everywhere.
But nobody puts out a good,
but it wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and that's the problem. It drives me crazy because the consumer is uneducated, almost always,
Right.
Sure.
And the consumer that is educated isn't probably a big supplement user, or is using super supplements, or is sponsored, or or they're educated. They know what like little supplements to get, but the average consumer isn't. And so what you'll get is like intra-workout nutrition, absolute, undeniable proof that it's beneficial.
Sure.
Essential amino acids, the right carbohydrates, right electrolytes will improve your performance, will improve your recovery, will improve the rates of muscle growth, everything across the board. The problem is good, like micronized essential amino acids, expensive as hell.
Right.
Non-micronized, bitter as hell, and the size of sand.
Yeah.
Good, like highly branched cyclodextrins, the good carbohydrate, expensive as hell. And then on top of that, if you just put highly branched cyclodextrins, you'll get a molecular weight that's too high and an osmolarity that's too low, and you'll get something called dumping syndrome, which is exactly what it sounds like. Water goes into your colon, and you have to dump it out. So you can't just do that. You have to mitigate it with a lower molecular weight carbohydrate, like straight dextrose. But then that has to be in the right ratio, because if you have too much dextrose, then you'll get the osmolarity of that will be similar to that of blood, and it'll just pool in your stomach, not in your small intestine. So like all these things need to be done, and you need electrolytes, you need, you probably want taurine, you need sodium, and those are all expensive products. So no one does that. Like a lot of companies put out an intra-workout with highly branched cyclodextrins, and that's it.
Interesting.
And just, but that doesn't solve everything, because the essential amino acids are what builds muscle tissue. You need that for actual muscle protein synthesis. And if you just load up a bunch of highly branched cyclodextrins with water, you're going to shit yourself. But you can charge half the price, and so it's like it's really difficult because the consumer doesn't know these things. Same thing with like an intra-workout. People don't know what they're buying, so they want to go to Walmart and buy C4 with 80 grams of caffeine, and that's it,
Pre-workout or something?
So like our pre-workout has 10 grams of L-citrulline. Why? Which is a lot. Why? Because that's what studies show is needed, People put 2 grams in so they can say they have it. Even worse, which drives me crazy, is people put citrulline malate in because it has a higher bioavailability, which is true. But what is citrulline malate? It's L-citrulline bound to malic acid, right? That doesn't cross the small intestine into the blood. You have to break them apart. That takes some time. So you take the L-citrulline or citrulline malate, that your body, it goes through the digestive process, your body cleaves the malic acid off, then the L-citrulline can be absorbed. How long does that take? An hour? I don't know. When do people drink their pre-workout?
2 minutes before they go in, 10 minutes.
Yeah, so even
if they have the
right,
even if they have the right amount dose, it's kicking in on their way home from the gym.
Right.
So you got that problem. So we didn't go that route. We went with the L-citrulline, which is hard because if someone has a small amount of knowledge and has read a few articles, all they're going to say is, citrulline malate's more bioavailability. They don't know what that process means.
Right.
We want the L-citrulline because we know you're taking the pre-workout on the way to the gym, and L-citrulline can be immediately absorbed. Yeah, right away. Hits the small intestine. As soon as it crosses the villi at the small intestinal wall, right through. And it's a full 10 grams, which is expensive as hell.
Sure.
Which is, and so it's really hard. But we refuse to, because we're still in the sport. And we got ripped off, and we bought stupid crap. That I bought Russian Bear 5,000. If anyone remembers that, it was 5,000 calories per serving.
Oh,
wait! If you mixed it with a gallon of whole milk.
Oh my! What are you?
What is a gallon?
1,000 calories?
No, it was 5,000 calories if you mixed it with a gallon.
Oh, okay.
With a gallon of whole milk, it's like 4,900 calories. So it's like you're dealing with stuff like that, and so I got ripped off like that, and and people still will, even no matter how good we get the education out, because it's way easier to put 2 grams of citrulline malate in, 80 grams of caffeine, have Walmart pick it up, sell it for $16 a bottle. Kids that don't know any better, let me try
That's what I was going to say. Like, how do you guys go about the education component? Because obviously it's one thing to make an incredible product. How do you guys go about like educating the consumer to this is why you should take this?
A couple of things. So we have a YouTube channel. So just First Detachment on YouTube, but then a lot of different articles like Justin's published. And then that's kind of our strategy going forward is just breaking down. There's some long form content that Justin's made, walking through the detail like he just did. But then there's also, we're working on more short form, kind of getting around things of that nature, working on like bite-sized pieces of content or educational materials so that people know, just kind of to understand, like we hope we put all that out for free. Like we hope they, buy our product, but at a minimum, at least they're educated on when they're making a decision, they can make an informed decision.
Sure.
Like that's the key thing.
It's difficult because most people know about berberine now. The great GDA improves insulin sensitivity, but berberine doesn't have a very good bioavailability. One of the easiest ways to make it more bioavailable is to combine it with cinnamon or combine it with piperine, black pepper extract.
Oh, okay.
Which ours is combined with both, but those cost money. And those cost probably more than the berberine do. And so you can go on Amazon and get 1,500 milligrams of berberine per serving bottles all day, for a great price, but it's not doing anything, you know? And then even more so, like, because it's because the very few people understand the science, and if you do understand the science, you can manipulate the people who don't know the science. One of the things that's currently happening right now with that is dihydroberberine. And I won't say too much with this because this is a product we're like hyper excited about. We have a product coming out called Suppressor Max.
Okay.
We currently have Suppressor right now.
Yeah, we have Suppressor with the berberine.
Which works phenomenally. But
Suppressor with berberine, it's got cinnamon and piperine to improve bioavailability. It also has fenugreek. Fenugreek works to increase insulin production directly at the beta cells of the islets and Langerhans of the pancreas. It's slightly different, and then it's got ALA, alpha lipoic acid, which people have known for years. So it's a great product. It's phenomenal, so much so that I have several case studies of type 2 diabetics who have been able to get off of metformin.
No way.
Yeah,
just by
from my data, which isn't a 10,000 person clinical study, but it is data. Yeah. I've got several. From my data, it appears that taking Suppressor as prescribed, five doses per day, preferably a capsule with each meal, basically, improves insulin sensitivity, roughly equal to 1,000 milligrams per day of metformin, which is a prescription medication.
Wow. Are these people that are actively training as well, or this is just
which is why they're working with me. Yeah, but you would training isn't a part of the equation.
For sure,
it work either way.
Yeah.
Well, and if someone's on metformin, just to add that too, metformin works to a different pathway than berberine, which Justin will kind of walk through the details. But that, so I know people just through my networks. I worked in the medical field before that need it for those reasons. They're not as active. They're trying to get active, and they're using Suppressor, with their prescription in the hopes to eventually transition off of it.
Okay.
So even if someone's, still using a medication, because it works to a different pathway, they could use that as well.
Right.
Yeah. And so from like a performance or a strength standpoint, the problem with metformin is it works through cyclic AMP, which is fine, but that's kind of like an anti-hypertrophy or anti-inflammatory pathway.
Okay.
And anti-hypertrophy is not what we want. That's anti-muscle,
Yep.
So yes, it improves blood sugar. And if it comes down to having uncontrolled blood sugar or controlled blood sugar but don't grow muscle as well, obviously you got to control your blood sugar.
Sure.
But berberine and Suppressor works through a cascade reaction with IGF-1, which everyone knows insulin like growth factor 1. That's like the holy grail. So it's like not only can you improve your blood sugar, but you can do it through this pathway that's the holy grail. It's like that's good as it gets. But going back to the dihydroberberine, that's another. I always say people don't read the studies. No one reads the studies.
Sure.
You go on Instagram or Facebook and there's an argument and someone says, this thing does this, and then they add a study to it.
Yeah.
And you're at best, because I read the studies, at best it's 50-50 that their study actually backs up their claim. They just know no one's going to read a research study because the research study is terrible. It's terrible. Yeah. You learn, the more you do it, the better you get at it, but it's not, it's like reading stereo instructions. Yeah. But so dihydroberberine is more bioavailable than berberine. And so now I'm seeing a lot of people making the push towards dihydroberberine.
Interesting.
Having not read the studies. Because if you read the studies, it shows that despite the higher bioavailability, there does not seem to be an improvement in blood glucose control over berberine.
Oh, okay.
So it seems to like get in the system better, but then doesn't work better.
Interesting.
But there is something else you can do that improves the bioavailability of berberine that does increase the effectiveness of berberine over 20%. And I have a couple studies that I'll reference when we put out articles about this. 20% and 22.5% improvement in blood glucose levels over berberine alone, where dihydroberberine, it does not do that. And it will be we're the only company that will have this. Wow. It's so I don't want to say too much because it's very difficult to get this new ingredient. I mean, it's not like, it's a I don't even want to say too much of what it is. Yeah. But it's
going to be sick.
He's excited about it.
Yeah, no, I am. Yeah, because it's like, how often does a novel supplement come out?
Yeah.
Creatine in like 89 or 90 or whatever.
Yeah, like BCAAs.
Yeah, like whey protein in the early to mid 90s.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't happen very often. So to like have something that clearly the research shows, and it's the new product, and we'll be the only one have it. I'm hyper excited about it.
When are you guys expecting to launch for that?
Summer, hopefully.
Summer? Okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean we're still working on. You can't even get sourced. You can't even get because no one's doing it. So you can't even get this. You can't go to like a compounding pharmacy in America. They're not prepared to make it. It has to be like one of the massive ones overseas. Right.
I was gonna say, what's the process of like getting supplements from like idea to actually out there, like in product form? Like obviously that
pretty simple.
Is it pretty simple?
Yeah, you go like that.
Yeah, it's just and then it appears. That's what I thought. Yeah.
No, that's what. No, and actually, I was just telling my wife the other day, like because like some of the supplement stores in our area carry them, and I was like, that's kind of cool. So because it is like. You got to make the bottle. You got to make the label.
Yeah, like how much goes into that back end effort?
So first of all, you have to find the products, and you don't go to 7-Eleven to find like the individual products. There's only so many companies around the world that produce raw chemicals. It has to be a massive company that's what they do. They have chemists that. They know that you add an amine structure to this and a methyl group here, and it's going to create this chemical, and they do it in mass amounts, and boom, now you have that. You add a hydroxyl group to this and a phenyl group to this, and boom, you have this chemical. And so it's not like a guy named John's one day like, you know what? I think I'm going to make one of those companies.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people, that's what they think happens. They go, they saw some influencer on Instagram had a clothing line, and now they get into supplements, so they just snap their fingers.
Yeah, there's some like going back to the ingredients part. There's some companies that like white label, so they kind of have that process there, but again, you're going to have a limited control to changing the ingredients, the percentage of things. Going back to what Justin was saying, it's going to be more of a boxed approach, like, hey, this is our pre-workout and you can have your label on it.
Right.
So that's probably what you see more in the influencer. In the influencer world. But, just to kind of take a step back, because I'll embarrass him. He won't say this stuff, but and also take us up to answer your question. But so how I got involved with Justin was, over 20 years ago, we trained together, all that stuff, right? Well, he had a business, or still has a business, is coaching, Detachment Nutrition. And I was a coach on his site like early on when he started it. And the cool thing about Justin, this is what my wife didn't meet him till later in life, because her and I met a little later in life. But I would tell her about this guy Justin, who like would always be on my case about start your own website. Like, you're giving me a cut of stuff and like want to push me to do it. So just a good dude, because he's not going to say that stuff. So I'll say it about him. And then I told her the second thing I told her about Justin is like, he's the only guy I ever met that could outwork me. I'm like, because like we would grind, and then all of a sudden I would find out that he had his baby on one of those front carriages while he did his hour of cardio at night, and he knows because there's videos of him, there's proof. So I'm not making it up. So he did all the stuff he talked about, and then when he did his cardio at night, he'd have one of his daughters in the I forgot what it's called, but the front
which makes cardio. Like the lower back pumps you get as cardio. Yeah. Imagine holding like 22 pounds.
Doing stairs.
So terrible.
So fast forward, we were in touch. I was, in the medical industry, and we were. I was a minority owner in a business, and we were going to try and purchase that company and work in that field later. This is 16 years later. Yeah. That kind of fell through, and then backtrack. Justin has 3 companies he can talk about it, but Team Troponin, like a subscription coaching website, Troponin Nutrition coaching, specific one-on-one coaching, and then First Detachment, where a friend of Justin's finally convinced him to start First Detachment. And that's why we have the 3 chevrons. That was his, he was a retired Special Forces. And so he kicked Justin in the butt to get it started and helped kind of get the initial phase of First Detachment started, if you will. Came down with some illnesses and things. And so, Justin and I were talking, there's a few other steps in there, but generally just kind of asked my wife and I, like, hey, that didn't work out. What do you, is something you're interested in? And we're like, yeah, we're all in, let's do it. And so that's kind of where we, came together and started working on this, and then, wanted to honor the start of it with our branding and kind of build up from there.
I don't want to cut you off too much, but I think if anything proves how much we believe in this, and so my partner, Jeff, I don't know how much he wants me to say, sick, got pretty severe illness. At the time, we didn't know much about it or how much longer he would be around. He's got a wife and kids. And so we really wanted to, broker a buyout, to have him taken care of. And I talked to some people, and then I remember how I was on the phone with you for. I don't remember why we were talking, but I mentioned it. And this isn't like, I'll give him $20. This is a full, buy a company. I don't think it was 20 minutes before it was.
My wife's in the other room, like, Amber, you want to do this? She's like, yep. I'm like, and that's where he said, we're all in. And then before you know it, like, he heard it again a couple weeks ago in like one of our marketing meetings. He's like, let's do that. That's our saying, all in.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because people don't realize, like, if you never owned a business, and people hate business owners. They only hate business owners when they become wealthy. But
of course, yeah.
They don't realize, like,
they love to watch you struggle.
Yeah,
when you
but
actually
it's
kick
like
it.
people don't realize, like, you risk everything, and not just to start it. You risk everything over and over and over, and we're over a year into this, still no salary, and still adding individual money, still like looking for funding, and every single penny goes back, and and so you it's not just because I didn't grow up around business owners. Dad was a pipe fitter, my mom was a nurse. She stayed home when I was younger. She went back to school when I was older, became a nurse. So that's all I knew, like get the 9 to 5, the safe job. I don't know what made me take the leap to be different, but it's different than people think, because it's you like
if you're trying to continually progress as well, it's like you just said, like you're always risking it every single time.
Yeah.
And like you get to a point where like you achieve the next mountain, and then it's like, okay, what's next? And like, I think as a business owner, it's impossible for you to sit in that space and just be comfortable, especially if you wanted like build something of value.
Right.
So yeah, it's a risk every day is a new
scary,
risk.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's different too because of, our commitment to the sport and our customers, right? Because it's like, we were just talking the other day about, efficiencies. And it's like the one non-negotiable we don't even bring up is any kind of change in ingredients. Cause it's like, unless a study came out that is a better ingredient and it's convincing, and, although I have a pretty good formal education on that, Justin is like, off the charts with that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, unless he gives the final thing. Cause I'm like, you own all formulation, man. Cause that's just, why would I,
That was going to be my question.
That's the
like,
next level.
How does that role, how do you guys work that role, like each other's role within the company? Like what is that split?
It works really well, actually. Cause I all the things I'm not good at, the C-suite corporate structure organization, awesome. That Joe's like on the ball. I mean, he's got experience. He was COO of a telemedicine company. He worked his way up through the corporate structure of Lifetime Fitness. Mm-hmm. So that whole, all the
boring stuff?
No, like, well, because we'll get an email and I'll be like, fuck this guy. Tell this, Joe, can you word this properly to let him know that we will not be using him any longer? And Joe, because he's got 20 years of experience in that, and just like the little, like setting things up. I'm incredibly disorganized. You put me in front of a camera, I'll talk. If this runs for 10 hours, I'll talk, especially if it's about nutrition or science or anything, or cars or whiskey or anything I'm passionate about. Yeah. But getting it scheduled would never have happened.
Gotcha.
Where Joe's, and also he's really the first guy who really we get in pretty heated arguments.
Yeah.
And he doesn't just, he pushes back.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he's known me so long, you know, like,
Yeah.
we're getting pretty.
What's funny though is 98% of them were pretty much saying the same thing. He gets frustrated that we're saying the same thing. Would you just stop talking? You know?
Yeah.
But that, I mean, and that's a big thing.
It's like a brotherhood at that point. Like,
but that's a big thing, because if you're in a business where one person takes things personal, or you feel like you can't really say the truth, you know, like you have to be able to say, like,
it's the beginning of the end,
you know,
at that
like
point.
you have to be able to say, like, you know, you could probably word it better than I do sometimes.
Sure.
But you have to say,
same on this end.
Yeah. As long as you guys know, I kind of look at it like, as long as you know you're working towards the same goal,
right?
Like you both have the same vision in mind, then like obviously how you get there, you're gonna have stuff along the way.
Well, I think if you start with trust, right? If you have that trust of the person you're with, you can speak more openly because they trust you, you trust them. That, to your point,
intent,
we both have the
like,
best, you know, thing, and then it's like you flush it out. And we had a marketing debate for like 10 minutes, and John, that Rivas that's with us, was just sitting back as we're going back and forth with each other. It turns out I said the wrong word in what I said, and it was that one word changed the meaning.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute.
That's all it is?
the
marketing thing.
Yeah, we got, because he was talking about like women and females in this photo shoot we had coming up. And I don't remember what the wrong word was, but I took it and ran with it. And so I brought up total addressable market, and I had, you know, what percentage of the supplement industry globally is female, and because I invest pretty heavily, and so I was already prepared. I was ready to rock. It turns out I was arguing the wrong word.
Well, but I said the wrong thing. In fairness, I was the
team effort on that.
So I like once it was like calm, I was like, let me say it again. Like I was wrong. Like, not what I meant, but it was just about, it was funny.
Sometimes I have to tell Joe we're not allowed to have meetings
after pre-workout.
Yeah, he's not allowed to take pre-workout.
Yeah.
That was the one time, because I'm like, all right, we got a quick meeting. I got to grab a workout. You know, again, same thing. Like things haven't changed. Like we're still, you know, he has 4 daughters. I have 2. We're married. You know, we're, you know, both of us have 2 full-time gigs. You know, just to keep the business growing, so we can put back into our athletes and the people that support us. And put into the agreements and equality, short of the long. So a lot of times, what does that mean? It means you're going to the gym at, you know, for me at like 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock, or 5 or 6 in the morning. So I'm like, all right, quick phone call. As I'll never do it again. I told him I'd commit to that. Took our WTF product or pre-workout. I'm like, you know, sipping it during the call. It starts picking up. I'm all fired up. Wait a minute, talking over him and stuff. And, you know, so I text him later, and I was like, hey, I know I don't have to say this, but I was rude. Like, I shouldn't have done that. And
I called him. I said, well, it's not PC, but I called him a homo for apologizing.
Nice. I love it. How do you guys balance? So, like, that's a big point. You guys both mentioned you're married. What do you guys do to, like, prioritize the personal life work balance thing? Do you believe in that balance? Like, that's tough. A lot of people struggle with that. I mean, I went through a divorce before I was 30.
I'll start. That's very tough, because all I do is work. I really struggle with it, because the most important thing in my life is being a good father. You know, I have 4 amazing daughters, and I know that at the end of all of this, doesn't matter, this could turn into a $500 million company. On my deathbed, the only thought in my head is that I'm going to wish I spent more time with my kids. I understand that, but I work. That's all I do is work. I mean, and you know, Joe's the same way. We'll do 3 a.m. texts. I forget John doesn't, because I sent John something at 3:45 a.m. one day, and the next morning he's like, "Dude, what the fuck are you?" But I don't sleep much. My wife's a sleep dentist, actually.
Oh, no way.
She's more or less retired. She only works 1 day a week now. So that's part of it, is that she's able to do all the kid stuff.
Nice.
I work from home, so I'm always there. I always see them, and I really try to structure my day. You know, so I start work after they leave for school. They leave at 7, so they. You know, I'm there when they're getting dressed. They don't know that I'm at work.
Yep.
Then I work all day, and then I go to every sporting event. So I take that break then, you know. And so somewhere in the evening, there's like a 2 or 3 hour break, you know. And then my youngest daughter now has this thing where we have a big house, and she sleeps downstairs, and she gets scared. And so I play pool, and that puts her to sleep. And So basically, my day is like 7 to 5-ish. Yep. I work, then I go to sports until, you know, we get back, whatever, you know, 7, 8. And then I'll work till 9. That's when bedtime is. I'll play pool for about 45 minutes, and then I work till collapse, basically.
Collapse, yeah. Nice.
Yeah, I think, for me, a couple things. I mean, I think it starts with having a partner that can extend some grace, right? So, because my wife, it's not always easy, but she's really supportive of that. She's actually involved with the operations of the business. So she used to run the back end of a medical company, and then also she had a business where she had about 70, 80 employees and stuff. So logistically, she's really good. So luckily, I was able to convince her to help us when we, and kind of get involved. So that kind of helps with some overlap. People say, "Oh, that's cool. You get to work with your wife." I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm more like a sales driver type. She's more of a do it right, type thing."
Yeah.
So there's little debates that Justin doesn't get to see many times. There's sometimes on a call it might pop up, but where it's like, we just had dinner where I'm arguing over like, "No, let's do a pre-sale." Like, what do you mean? It's like, well, listen, if they messed up shipping, then our customers are going to get it. I'm like, oh, we're going back and forth. I handle all the customer service. So.
My wife no longer goes on calls. Apparently, she went on one, and apparently I shushed her. And everyone, so she's not joining any longer.
That's hilarious.
But I think again, we're not, I'm not perfect with it, but a big thing is I try to do my best to integrate my kids and definitely my wife's integrated, but my kids, like, it's so cool because my daughter made I was talking about this a couple weeks ago. My daughter, she made a little business plan, for like cutting lawns and raking leaves and stuff. And then on the back, like, hand wrote all the stars, so like a 5-star, 4-star, 3-star. She's like, well, it's a really big yard, a big yard, a medium yard, and a small yard. I was like, okay, honey, how do we define that? And then how do you do that? And I was like, so we had fun with that. And the reason why
this is actually how we work together and why it works. This is the perfect example. That's what his daughter did basically to mimic his business. My daughter had dress up as like what your dad does for work or what your parents do for work.
Oh, that's funny.
And so my daughter went as a business owner wearing a Detachment Nutrition shirt and sweatpants because that's what she sees me know.
That's amazing.
That's what my dad does all day.
That's my aspect of the business is the slob, and his is the structure.
No. I love it.
Well, but I will say it is, and the other thing, because obviously we talked about, like, we have our YouTube channel, and so, we just don't want her, I have a 10 and 8-year-old, so I'll let her record, and so now she knows how to use like all my, she's like, "Can I go down there and record?" I'm like, "Sure, awesome." Yeah. So she'll do that, and we'll play around with that. So I think it's all about like integration. Even just, I know this isn't directly a question with business, but quick little side tangent. I was 39 and I sent Justin pictures and said like, "Hey, I think I'm going to compete next year. Like, what do you think?" Because we used to compete, together. I was in my early 20s. I got out of the sport a couple years before he did.
Yeah.
And, what do you think? I'd like to compete in a year and a half, whatever. He's like, "No, you're going to compete now." I'm like, "Oh crap." Short of the long, the reason why I bring that up is, and this story is during my prep, like, my daughter was involved with it. Like, she would help me with cool. Photos or like, "Dad, do this thing," or "I don't like the way that looks." So it was just kind of cool. I think I picked it up from like I don't know if you ever heard of Dave Ramsey. Like, I listened to a lot of his stuff, and early on in my life, and he would always talk about like, you got to integrate like your family into it. Like, Dad might have to go on a trip for 2-3 weeks or whatever. When we come back, it's like quality time. It's not going to be quantity.
Sure. Yeah.
Where, like,
you value those
what's
moments.
the alternative? Maybe Dad comes home, sits on the couch, grabs a beer or something, or he's watching a sporting game. And don't bug him when he watches a sporting game. Like, that'll never happen. And our households, we love our sports, but we're going to do it with them or whatever the case is. So I think it's more about like the quality versus the quantity sometimes. Yeah. And as long as they know, like, I know Justin does this too. And trying to explain what Daddy's doing, like, "Oh, you got this bogus letter about something made up from another business I was in." You're like, "Oh, well, let me explain, at a 10-year-old's level, like what this means." Or, "Well, what does it mean when you buy a company?" She asked, or "What does it mean when you," I was talking about like marketing, like, so you explaining it and you could see little wheels turning where I'm like,
super valuable.
I think it was cool. Like, because my dad was, my dad, yours was a pipe fitter, my dad was a tool and die guy in a shop.
Yeah. Mine was an accountant.
I saw Shop Talk.
Yeah, it's all shop talk.
I knew 737 swear words.
Yeah, exactly.
But I still the weird thing is, because even like that's still my type of people though. Like, even when I was an engineer, that's who I
work hard. Yep.
Those are real people. Those are still the people that drive the country.
Yeah. Right.
But Yeah, I'm sure you guys know like Chat GPT-4.
Oh yeah, man, it's crazy.
Yeah, language AI.
We've been integrating that into our own stuff.
Yeah.
And it's funny because people look at it and they go, "Oh, it's going to replace me or whatever," but it still needs a driver, right? If you learn how to drive it, you're inputting it, you're going to be able to lead that entire.
It is. I mean, I don't want to get on a kind of tangent because I know nothing about economics other than I read one book on economics, but I will speak as an expert.
As an expert.
But no, things like that really are. I mean, because like autonomous driving, like my Tesla's full self-driving, it's not there yet, but it's way better than the people who think it sucks. It will drive. It would drive me from here to my house, across country. A 9-hour drive. It would. There may be 1 or 2 interactions where it makes a decision that I don't really like, but it's more me not liking it, and a lot of it is the fact that it follows the laws,
like to a T. Yeah.
Yeah, it lets you go faster and stuff.
Yeah.
But it stops at stoplights, which I don't like. Or stops at stop signs. I mean, stop signs, But you have, but those things are like happening incredibly quickly, and it's going to happen very, very quickly. GTP4. What's GTP 20?
Oh yeah.
You're on full self-driving 11. What's full self-driving 100?
Yeah.
And so you're going to reach a state where because 80% or 67% of the United States economy is service industry. And service industry can be completely replaced by autonomy.
Yep.
Yeah. And so how do you deal with that? Because, like we have a middle class, it's fading.
Yep.
And that's not remarkable because there's never been a middle class. That was the great, amazing thing of like this American experiment was that throughout human history, there was 2 classes. Yeah. You had your
the working class or the
your kings, and there was never a middle class. There was no middle. There was the people who owned everything, and then the people who worked all of it. Yeah. Yep. And so in America, the great thing in America for the longest time, and my parents' generation was the last generation that truly had a middle class where you could get a job as a pipe fitter, feed a family, have 2 cars at home, go on vacation. You can't do that anymore. And so, it's rapidly shrinking to where, with this autonomy, what you're going to end up happening is eventually we're going to have to get universal basic income, which people think is great. Everyone's like, because maybe you're the next.
For anybody who doesn't want to work, it's amazing.
But people, like even for the best intentions, even people who want to work, because you could argue, say, well, maybe the next Mozart's out there, but they're waiting tables.
Sure.
But the truth is, the next Mozart would be waiting tables and would still find a way to be Mozart.
Yeah. Right.
Every amazing, every person like that has the story of how they overcame things. You're not Mozart.
That's what makes it so special.
It's not like any of those people. It's not like Mozart wouldn't have been Mozart because he had to have a job. He did.
Sure.
He did,
Yeah.
And so what you're going to end up happening is, I think the problem is humans. I'm going to speak way out of my league again, but why not?
Go for it.
But this is an energy drink, so here we go. Buckle in, everybody.
This isn't a step. You can imagine this. Like you can first principle this. You're a caveman. What do you need? You wake up, you're hungry. You need to find food, right? Yeah. That's it. You find food. Great success. Best day of my life. I'm full. Now I need a place to sleep. What do? One job. Find a place to sleep. Best day of my life. I found a place to sleep. I'm safe. So we don't like this pursuit of happiness, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. That was such a novel idea that they had to write that in the concept. That wasn't thought of. That was new. No one thought about you could pursue things that made you happy. Up until then, it was always exactly. Yeah.
Make it till tomorrow.
we don't know how to do that. We haven't evolved enough to know what makes us happy. If someone's starving, it's very easy for them to be happy. Find food. Sure. If someone's freezing, it's very easy for them to be happy. Get warm. If someone has no shelter, it's very easy for them to be happy. Find shelter. If you have all of those things and now you have to find what makes you happy, that's difficult, and that leads to depression. Yeah. And I think universal basic income is going to be a rapid rise in depression because what are most people going to find out? They're not the next Mozart.
Yeah, 100%.
They don't know what they like to do, and even worse, anything you like to do, you have to get that snowball rolling. You're on the couch with no reason to do anything. Yeah. Maybe you like skiing. You don't live on a ski slope in your skis. Yeah. Even if you love doing that, you still have to drive there, get dressed, put on your skis, you spend the whole day, get exhausted, find a way to eat. Even if that's your passion, it's still a lot of work. So I think that's a very, very scary proposition, is that eventually we're going to get that point. We're going to get 67% of the population who rely on universal basic income, who have no idea what makes them happy.
Yeah.
To tie this back in is that the ones who will work through that there's still going to be businesses.
Yeah.
There's still going to be people who run and own things, own businesses, own things, and still produce things. And
it almost makes the competition easier in that sense, because less people are going to be as ambitious because they met that basic need portion. So I find even after the last 2 years, like we had in Canada, we had a program called CERB, and it was $2,000 a month during the pandemic. And after that, during that period, it made business very easy because no one was competing. People were not very competitive. And after that, the hardest thing is finding, like, a lot of our marketing budgets have moved to recruitment because finding good labor is the hardest challenge that most companies in Canada are facing, and probably in the US as well.
Yeah. No, and it seems counterintuitive, but if you have enough money that you don't have to do anything, what are you going to do?
Probably not going to do much.
Exactly.
Well, I think it goes back to like the fulfillment and depression stuff too, where
that's why celebrities are all depressed and alcoholics.
For sure.
It's
100%.
the truth.
Well, people a lot smarter than me and studied it and spoke about it, but to kind of regurgitate some of it is like, if you want to get out of depression, like do something hard.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, I think that's part of why we put ourselves through this fun journey, but because it's like, you want to feel alive. You want to feel like you're doing something bigger than yourself. Yeah. You're making a difference. Those things are all hard to do.
Like, look at lottery winners, right?
Right.
You get handed, $100 million, and they all end up like 99%. I don't know what the exact stat is, but they all end up bankrupt or dead.
I know he was dead shortly after of kidney failure, cirrhosis. Had all more money in the. So what do? You wake up, buy some drinks, get some cigarettes. What do you do the next day? That was fun. Let's invite some people over. What do you do the next day? Dude, we had a great party yesterday. Come on over. I'm buying drinks. There's only so many, and like, because really, like, if you, it's a weird thing. Like, people say, poor celebrities in their mansion. Yeah. But you can imagine it would. What do you do when you don't have to do anything? Yeah.
And when you have the dopamine hit, like, it's kind of like cars. So like, I'll relay it back to cars. So last year I got super lucky. My brother and I bought a bunch of cool cars. Lambo was always like the dream car. It was like 32 years of wanting that car, or 33 years. Got the car, and then in 2 weeks, it's like, okay, got the car. Now what? So like these dopamine hits, it's like you hit the next level. It's like, where do you go from there? There's like nowhere left to go. So when you're like, celebrity with the mansion, it's like, you're always trying to progress, but where do you progress from there?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you go back to tie it all the way back to early humans again, because there was always that new one. I need food. I found food. Oh, it's amazing. Well, it's not very long until you need food again. It's not very long before you need shelter again. Yeah. And I know exactly what you said, because like with my Lotus, I studied that, looked around the country. Like the biggest dopamine hit was in the process of finding the exact one I wanted, 100%. Buying it, and making. Yeah, and now I haven't driven it this year. The weather hasn't been good.
Like 2 years ago, that was like your ultimate dream. Imagine the day I get this thing. Yeah.
But it's So it's but anyways, like, teaching your kids about business is more good, and economics and how money works is forever more important, because we're rapidly reaching that 2-class system again. Yep. And people can bitch and hate it all they want, but the people who bitch and hate it the most are the ones who are going to be championing universal basic income that's going to cause it.
Yeah, absolutely. Another question for you guys. How important is, obviously we're in media and content, how important has leveraging media channels been for you guys with the company, and what are some things that you guys do to kind of build that reach and that education component? I know you mentioned the YouTube channel and stuff like that, but what are like future plans, and how does that integrate into your strategy?
Yeah, I think that's really a big pathway for us is going to be through media, as we talked about, like the educational content. I think it's to answer it a couple ways. I think it's a nice way for us to also kind of help the greater good, if you will, because if we say, hey, do you want to work with our company? Maybe someone has a non-compete, or maybe someone has a contract with another company. But so it kind of stifles them from being able to share content, right? Or that they could. So by having them as guests on our channel there, they can still share all their expertise through that platform, but we're not like pushing our products on that platform, if you will. Right. So I think a lot of that is that case, but as we move forward, it is going to be more kind of branching out to, short form educational content, highly engaged stuff, because the more people are entertained, the more you can keep them involved to actually learn about what it is we do and why we do it and those types of things. Cool. So I think that's a big part of it. That's where pretty much outside of the product, that's where all of our investment is right now.
That's where I wish I could be better at, because my general philosophy with things is make a better product. If it, and focus on that, and that does work, but people still need to know about the product,
right?
And that worked for my coaching business. I've never advertised, never once said I had a client opening, never. We even just recently hired a social media team, and one of the posters they were going to advertise, and I said, no, I will not advertise, because it's a source of pride.
Sure. It's all referral.
I don't need to, because I really, really work hard for my clients, so much so that they've told enough people who've told enough people where for over 20 years, I've never had to tell a single person that I'm a nutrition coach.
Right.
And I take pride in that. The problem is now I'm 20 years behind on that whole process in an industry that requires marketing.
Right.
Yep. And so I'm like I'm really trying to learn quick. I'm a quick learner, and I'm like really upset. But like I'll see these other companies. I'll see. Because you guys just started this up, and you can already tell it's going to blow up. Like you do, like everything's right. Like your lighting's amazing. You got the blue LED. That's the all Chinese one. I know exactly what one that is. You got the what is that like? Is that like
those are the Godot?
Is that 5600?
Yeah, probably 56.
Where the I'm trying to really learn all these things.
Yeah.
I got that Salem acoustic background.
Amazing.
I love it. Yeah,
love it.
So I try to look what because the people who do it succeed, and it's not chance. For anyone that's listening to this that wants to listen to a different podcast, your guys would be the best, obviously. But Mr. Beast is on Lex Friedman recently, and it's absolute gold. Absolute gold if you own a business, because that's what he does. He obsesses about those things, and he says, people think going viral or being successful is luck, and having one viral video is luck. You happen to trip over something and there's a donkey in the background laughing. Yeah, you get a bunch of views.
Right.
But you don't make a career out of that. He's the most subscribed Instagram or YouTuber and the most followed TikToker for a reason.
Absolutely.
Because he studies all these things.
Yeah.
I guarantee those plants were there was a decision. They didn't happen to be in the room.
Yeah, for sure.
The blue lights here. Then it just you weren't like, hey, you guys got blue fluorescent lights.
Yeah, that works.
That's sweet. The size and length of the table, the mic is being chosen. Like all those things come into play. And I'm way behind the curve on that. And I could kick myself for it, because I had a period of time in the mid 2000s where I had just absolute surges of free publicity.
Yeah.
I was with Detachment Nutrition. I was in the magazines. I was posting on YouTube. One of the first people posting strength videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
I just didn't care, and I didn't need to, because it was almost like a source of pride that my business is growing faster than I can handle. Mm-hmm. But marketing is going to, and that's what I'm really, really trying to go back to school for.
Well, I think we knew too, where influencer that's in the someone in our in our space, like Vigorous Steve, came on, and as soon as he logged on, he's like, whoa, what's going on with your guys' lights? And Justin was so frustrated, like, dang
Vigorous
it.
Steve, let me tell a story.
Yeah, go ahead. He's still been on shape about it. So since then we fixed our lights, because
I got a Canon M50 Mark II.
Okay, great.
Got it all set up.
That's awesome.
I got I got a couple lights like that. I got dispersion lights. I got this exact same thing, only it's in red behind me with the exact. And I'm working, getting the color right, and everything. And I'm fine, because this has been weeks. Like, I had tried a different webcam. I couldn't get this stupid. I had never used a camera before, so I went from regular webcam to an upgraded webcam to a 4K webcam.
Top influencer out of the gate.
To this Mark II. I went from the Blue Yeti microphone to a Shure microphone.
Nice.
Got boom on, like running through phantom power, like all this stuff that I knew that I didn't ever even knew.
You're like a recording engineer.
I never knew it existed. I'm putting the man hours into like Prestige Worldwide. We put the man hours. And I find the first podcast where I think I got it nailed, And I log into StreamYard. Steve puts me on. He goes, "Oh Jesus, what's wrong with the lighting?"
Like, fuck.
And then I've been playing with mine so much, but a lot of times on StreamYard when we have a guest on, I help promote them and show their stuff. So I'll do a share screen. So I got a monitor over here where I'll pop up their Instagram or their website or whatever, promote what they're doing. We're all about like lifting our guests up as well.
Yeah.
And I'm like going, what is going on? My lights, well, finally I minimized the screen. Lights are fixed. I'm like, the last like 5 episodes, it's all because of the dang share screen. So now I know to like turn the light that's on me down when I pop it up. It's just like
illuminating.
Because everyone's like, oh, that looks like a good reel, but swipe. Because who's that idiot with the bright white thing?
And that stuff matters. That's what matters, man. 100%. That's what Mr. Beast like basically says. He says he's a firm believer that it's easier to make one video to get 1 million views. Than make 1,000 videos that'll get 1,000 views.
Yeah,
You can the amount of time it takes to do 1,000 videos. If you could put less time into that to nail it with $1 million video.
Yeah,
and it says the same thing. You should never post a video, whatever your like. You're not maybe not your all-time highest view count, but where your baseline is, where you think like all my videos should be above this view count. Right. If you were posting a video that you aren't absolutely sure is going to get more videos than that, why are you posting it?
Yeah,
don't post it.
Sure.
Put more time into it because why are you regressing with your product?
Yeah.
And those are things again. In every industry, I've been in a lot of industries, and the fascinating thing to me always is that stuff.
It's always the same.
That you would never think of.
Little compounding things. It's the old horse race analogy, right? Yeah. Like you won by a nose, which you make a few $1,000,000 more in that race, right?
Yeah.
At the finish. Quick version of that analogy.
But it does make sense, and you can go through and see, like patterns in my reels, like high quality reels that are like kind of from the side where I take up the whole screen with a clickbaity little do great.
Yeah.
Videos of a podcast where the guest podcast is like 480p and really dark, and it's a 9:16, but we're both 16 by whatever. So we're just little boxes.
Well, even the Lambo content, it's funny because it's clickbaity, but it works for a reason. Like my buddy Eddie in the States runs a massive marketing agency, and he just purchased a Lambo like 2 weeks ago, a Huracan Evo, and he already had massive reach. But within 2 weeks of owning that car, he's like 300x'd his reach just because of the car. And so it's funny. It's like all that clickbait stuff that like people just see as like the hype. It works for a reason. Like people do click it for a reason.
And I'm really bad at that too, because I have I have the Lotus Evora 400, I got the Tesla Model S Plaid. I could do some
self-promote thing,
but it's it feels slimy.
Wrong, man.
I feel like no, I'm not a used car salesman. I'm a physicist who designed really good stuff. This is what I want you to focus on.
I'm an introvert naturally, so for me to do the front-facing thing was like such a hard shift.
Oh yeah.
But it's like what you just said earlier about like you've had a coaching business for so long. It's kind of like I got to a mentality where it's like I know that my product is better. Like what we do here as a media company, I know it's better than the guys out there that are promoting the bullshit. Right. So whether or not I like it or not, I have to do this because I'm actually doing disservice to the rest of the world because I know my product's better. Like same with you, like you've got killer clients. It's almost like you just gotta do it. You gotta embrace it because the clients are missing out. Like the new clients are missing out, right? So it helped me change the perspective a little bit so that then I became like more like inclined to embrace it rather than be like, fuck this.
The introversion part, being an introvert's hard because any introvert knows extroverts who are, like, he's great, just ask him, he'll tell you. Or, the guy, when you're talking to someone, he's like, enough about me, let's talk about you. What do you think about me?
Yeah.
Well, exactly. I think like our best content is like, again, obviously Justin's beyond a wealth of knowledge and experience. And, I have a pretty extensive formal education, but still, Justin's still way off the charts here. But what I try to do when I'm going back to kind of the content piece, when I'm talking to someone, I try to think like the audience. And I just have that childlike curiosity, right? Like I may kind of know the answer to the question I'm asking, but it's really fun to see. That's kind of the role I play is I'll throw it out there to, one of our guests and they'll unpack it. And then Justin gets to chime in and either agree and reinforce what they said or kind of shine another angle. And they both get, really good, information they put out there that can be applied right after that episode. Someone can say, oh, they just talked about here's that issue with your deadlift and how you can adjust it, or here's that pre or post workout nutrition, intra workout, whatever, rest, sleep, you name it. I mean, we talk about everything. So, and as you can already tell, like we talk about everything.
So that's another art, the art of being an interviewer. What I had never, because I've done tons of podcasts as the podcast guest, which is come on. I basically talk the whole time about something I'm interested in. So it's like, hey, I think that went great. I talked about the thing I'm most interested in the world, you know. But
you were talking about, I gotta say, he talked about China's one-child policy on Table Talks, which is, for if your viewers don't know, is a more mainly a powerlifting podcast, Elite FTS, and with Dave Tate, and it was just so funny because he went off on this really in-depth explanation about it's an economic and Dave thing. And I are just like. Which is interesting
because obviously China and Russia they're trying to work something right now, and this is kind of their only chance to do it. And the reason is because China really screwed themselves. No one knows what their population is. They know that it's a pretty rapid population collapse right now because they have the one, because like me and my wife, if we have one kid, that's if we have two kids, we're staying stable. We have to have 3 kids to grow the population. It's just like historically, the American, the 2.2 kids and a dog or whatever, and that's why the population grows.
Everyone's worried about overpopulation. We're actually looking at depopulation.
I'm not an expert at that, but you could fit the entire population of the world inside. I can't remember if it's Texas but I'm sure.
I thought it was like New York, 11-mile radius or something.
Yeah,
and fit everything.
If you fit them and you kept it like as densely populated as New York City is, there's not no, that's not overpopulation is not the risk at all. There's a lot of land. If you don't think there's a lot of land, go to North Canada or go to Montana.
We're all land.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Or go to where I live. I live in Michigan. Yeah, and I can see the sun rise over the lake, meaning no houses are in front of me. All the way through, and then all the way I can see it set over the horizon in the other direction, meaning no houses in that entire to the horizon, and so but like the China thing is China's got a really weird system where they've built amazingly fast growth in their economy, amazingly fast by stealing IP. I mean, that's really what it is. No innovation, stealing, and they're great at it. Reverse engineering. But they have a declining population, the one-child policy for the longest time. And so you have this rapidly aging population who never learned to innovate. And what makes America is that we love innovators. We don't. We hate Elon Musk. But we shouldn't. But that everything amazing comes from America for that reason, where like China has that like learn by rote, repeat to learn. Like with engineering, the company I work for, Eaton, we did heavy duty truck transmissions. We sent our 12-speed automated manual. It's an automatic transmission. It's a manual transmission that's run automatically. Basically, like with solenoids and stuff. Actuators and so on. And so it's even better than that because they're not actually even using a shift anymore. Oh, really? It was really cool. Really really cool. Anyways. Yeah, and it's got a splitter in the front and an overdrive in the back.
Oh, really? That's crazy.
But anyways, you take that to China. What's the first thing? Because we can make a lot of money in China, but we know we have a minimal amount of time before they steal that design and they don't really need us any longer. Yeah. But China's a big ass country with a lot of trucks, so we can. But the first thing they do, you go there, you bring your transmission over there, you say, bye, have a good flight. The second the door closes, they're tearing it down. And that's how they built. Yeah. That's how all their stuff is. So there's no innovation, and the population is in rapid decline. And so if you look. If you take what we think the population decline probably is and kind of pair it with the fact that they never really developed a society that creates innovation, it's very likely that they're about 10 years away from no longer being in a position to argue as a world superpower. And so like that's what scares me with like Russia and stuff right now, because China's not stupid. Like Xi Jinping's not stupid. The people at the top, they know how things work. I mean, the people, everyone thinks the government's stupid, but those people knows.
Incredibly intelligent.
Exactly. And even if it's not intelligent, they've been around all the intelligent people that know how the world really works their whole life. And so you can see the wheels turning to pair up, because Russia has a fairly innovative. Especially it's older now, but Russia's science, they were
going to say in the engineering.
Absolutely. They were the first into space, all that stuff. amazing mathematicians, amazing engineering, chess champions left and right out of there. And so the innovation there, so you can kind of see like it's a scary time because there's probably only about a decade before the Chinese population decline combined with their aging population, combined with their no real time ever spent on innovation could put them in a real economic strain unless they pair with another company and then somehow are able to suppress us.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up, Joe. We just lost all our listeners.
I know. Sorry. Can we edit that out? Yeah. For those of you who actually,
nice.
It's like in class. We're going to have a presentation. Oh.
Yeah. And we're back from an intermission.
Just do what they would do in school. Just play like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And people just keep watching.
Amazing. Dylan, how are we doing for time?
Pretty great.
What are we at?
Hour 10.
Hour 10? Oh, we're just cruising into it. Amazing. I had a couple other questions about the products themselves. So like with the company, you guys are pretty involved in the veteran space in terms of...
Yeah, well, I don't want to misspeak on that, it's like stolen valor. I am not a veteran at all. And I absolutely respect what they do. My previous partner was special operations. Right. And so that's why we say veteran founded. We used to be veteran owned, we say veteran founded. And that's why the 3 chevrons, because that was his rank, was it E5?
E5.
E5, yeah, was his rank, and so we've honored him with that. But yeah, and we absolutely love first responder. You go on our site and there's the option if you're a first responder, military, to get special discounts, and we respect the hell out of that because that's really respect the hell out of that because that's like that. That's what keeps America rolling. Like you have a heart attack, we just forget that. Firemen come and take you to the hospital in an ambulance, and you don't die. Yeah. And
you go to like Dominican Republic.
Yeah, it's not that way. Yeah, it's not that way. Yeah. Or the fact that like no one is ever going to invade the United States.
Yeah.
Because there'd be what's the famous saying? If you invaded the United States, there'd be a gun behind every blade of grass. But two, because of our military, that's a pretty dumb move, and first responders and an ambulance. Like, we don't think about that. Like, if you live in the country, if you live in Romania in the country and you have a heart attack, what do?
Yeah.
Rest and die.
The family helps you or you're dead.
Put a hot washcloth on your forehead. What do you do here?
Yeah, I think it's onions. They put onions.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Potatoes.
Potatoes and onions. I did a whole tour of Romania. Yeah. The transport shot. I got really sick.
Potatoes for bruises, right?
Oh. Yeah, I got really sick. They had those little streams. I drank some of the water or whatever, and I got sick at this one little hotel we were at, and that's what they did. They put onions and potatoes in socks.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, but what do you do in America?
You just puke it out and hope that you live.
911, and in minutes you had an IV. We take that for granted, and they get paid shit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So we really appreciate it.
I would say, from the military standpoint too, like we do what we can right now in the short term, but long term we're exploring different opportunities to give back to that community or whatever the case may be. So I think that's like a 2024, 2025 thing is we're kind of still ramping.
Nonprofit type thing.
Yeah.
It's so far in the future, but that's.
Yeah.
You always have hopes and plans, and there's always a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, but we really love to be able to do something.
I mean, short term right now, like I know of a few, there's some that are in our network that maybe they just started their fitness coaching business or whatever it is. And like, hey, we'll spin up some graphics for you, post it to our audience, as our audience continues to grow and they come on, there's more value. Like we have a couple of coaches that were retired military that, trainers, coaches, whatever, that were on our show. So as that grows, people go back and watch it. We're hoping it helps them. And we kind of really promote them on the show. So that's just a special place for both of us. Like my aunt was a retired Marine Corps.
Yeah.
And that was a big part of my childhood. And so that's, cool. And as Justin said, from our, the original kind of findings after we, reorganized everything. But so that's kind of something that's, always going to, be there and,
cool.
And
were you
go
guys
from there.
in the military? Anybody?
No, my brother did a little bit of stuff in the military.
It's just like, if you really sit and think about it, it's like phenomenal. Like you have some guy, he's probably making like $32,000 a year, signing off checks or signing off what would you call it, approvals for like $800 million in equipment, and then walking around with live rounds, but can't wear their shoes untied. It's
it's crazy.
And then like even crazier though, like they go through all that. I mean, I went through a spring term. Well, the college I went to. This is a total sidetrack, but I'll come back hopefully. Alma College is a small private school that does some cool things. One of the things is you have to spend a spring semester abroad. Either that, or you have to take one on campus, and they make it so hard that it's absolutely miserable. So everyone goes abroad. And what I did was I studied the Holocaust, and so I spent a month in Spain, Poland, and the Czech Republic studying the Holocaust and cleaning up actual. Jewish cemetery that was ransacked and completely removed of all medals and destroyed during the Holocaust, and it was like to this like such a mind bending experience. You know, it's like just like wow,
it'd be surreal.
I didn't even know that I appreciated at the time, but it's something like that has. Over any 1 month period, that is probably the biggest 1 month impact of my life.
Yeah.
Well, now picture an 18-year-old kid going to Iraq, and flying in a military, jet, driving, Humvees and all that stuff, and then we just send them home. Yeah. And it's like, good luck.
Yeah, have fun with the rest of your life.
Sorry, your buddy died in that, friendly fire, no less, even worse. But you're gonna have a hard time getting a job, but good luck. Yeah, it's like it's just like
it's crazy. I don't know how you integrate back in like to normality after all.
Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, it's I have a really good buddy who was Army, also who works in roofing business.
Okay,
and he does really well, but it's like you think. I don't want to speak too much because I wasn't in the military, but you think like the discipline you learn there and stuff. Yeah, but it seems to me like it's a different. It's forced discipline, And you almost rebel against things like that. So I imagine it's got to be extra hard because you're sick of being forced to wake up to taps or sick of being forced to wake up to PT and all those things. And you'd think that would translate to, well, geez, I've been putting in 16-hour hard days for 3 years. A regular workday should be no breeze. But now I don't have to do it. It seems like a tough transition.
Yeah, it would be super tough. What are your guys' goals for, I guess, short term for the company? What's like kind of immediate plans? I know you got the new product launch you're hoping for summer, but what's kind of like the end goal or the end?
You want to talk a little bit on it? And
then we want to continue to grow, but our big thing is field rations. We have a research study basically showing unequivocally that it's a better sports drink than Gatorade. We would love to get that information out and get the right people to actually understand it, which is going to be extremely difficult. We have a reformulation for field ration sport, because technically I don't want to get too into the weeds, but like you run a marathon, right? And you get those gel packs, right? Sure. Sugar gel packs. Yep. And so that's usually maltodextrin. Okay. Maltodextrin is, we don't have a pencil, but maltodextrin would be like a pencil of glucose molecules. So it's not heavy, right? So it gets in your stomach, and there's water in your stomach. What gets it through there? It's it's light. It's like floating to the bottom of the pool, and then it gets to the small intestine eventually, But even worse, because there's always an osmotic pull, while that's occurring, there's potential for water to pull into the stomach. Even worse, you're bloating, So not only is it not getting into digestion, but it's bloating. It trickles down there, and then what? You have this pencil where you can only pull surface area, right? So you can pull one glucose molecule off this end, one glucose molecule off that end, one off this end, one off that end. Just terrible. Yeah. And that's what's out there. Like you take a high molecular weight carbohydrate, like highly branched psychodextrins, and it's this massive cluster.
Which is what's in field rations. That's right.
Yeah. So it's this massive cluster, tons of surface area, high molecular weight. So it's like a bowling ball. It doesn't
float down,
put a bowling ball into a pool. Yeah. And now it's in the small intestine. And now what happens? We can only digest simple sugars at a time. We have to pluck those off. Well, now rather than having 2 at a time we can pluck off, we've got hundreds, even thousands that they can pluck off. So immediate transfer of glucose into the bloodstream. But even better, because it's so large, sustained transfer in the bloodstream. So you don't get a spike in insulin. You don't get that central nervous system depressant effect from a high insulin spike. So you get really quick blood sugar levels in the blood sugar into the blood, and then a really strong sustained release. The problem is ours is focused on hypertrophy, so we have things like amino acids and stuff. If we were going to make a sport version, it would be lowered in those.
Yeah, just like 2 comments on that for people who might not understand some of the terminology, but it still is really good with the amino acids. But to Justin's point, that would be one thing to tweak a little bit. But like if you ever heard the saying, like, after a big meal, like someone's got to go lay on a couch or sit. Like that's that CNS suppression from insulin spiking. So you think of these people that are performing at their highest level, chugging these drinks that are causing that same effect on their body. Like they have to physically fight through that. So, and that's why this works so well in an intra workout from that standpoint. There's 17 reasons why it works really well, but that would be one.
And even worse, Gatorade. Gatorade's, why is it called Gatorade? In the 1960s, the Florida Gators Sports Science Department.
This is the origin of it?
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
Developed it. And so they were looking at a way to kind of enhance their sports teams being able to, sustain energy late in a game. And so obvious first thoughts are electrolytes and some carbohydrates. So they did a bunch of studies and they found that what happens? Too many carbohydrates, you spike insulin, central nervous system, suppress it, not good. Too low of carbohydrates, you don't really supply new blood sugar, it doesn't provide much benefit. Too much sodium, the same thing. Your blood has to be 0.9% blood sodium. If it goes above that, it can't filter through the kidneys. Like we can't drink seawater. Cats can. Sure. They can do it without dying. If we drink seawater, we'll die of dehydration, oddly enough, even no matter how much we drink.
Right.
So they can't add too much sodium. What happens if you add too much potassium? You're at risk for hyperkalemia. Hyperkalemia, if you have elevated heart rate, can be deadly because you can go into ventricular tachycardia and have a form of a heart attack. That's where they do the defibrillator clear. So you got to be careful with the potassium. So the original Gatorade was much less sugar. It wasn't fructose. It was glucose.
Okay.
And it was like a different combination of electrolytes. The problem is, what happens when you market a very low sugar, unflavored, salty drink?
Nobody's gonna do it.
So it sucks. So when they mass marketed it, they had to lower the sodium, they had to increase the sugar, change the sugar to high fructose corn syrup. Now it tastes like a fruit juice.
Yeah.
And so they remedied a little bit because they came out with the G2 not that long ago. The G2 is closer. But the problem is Gatorade isn't, and that's on every football field, every baseball field, every rugby field, every soccer field, and it's known that it's not the original formula, and it's known that the reason the original formula was different is because the current formula didn't work, and it's everywhere. And we're I don't know how to get this information out there. Yeah. Like I said, we have a research study. It's on our site. This works differently. Yeah. This does not cause the bloating.
And is this field rations here?
No.
Okay. I don't even know what I'm pointing at.
Well, and I just to point out too, the research study is a collection of other people's studies on the raw ingredients. So it's not even stuff that we did. This is all independent that's out there. Anyone can go on Google Scholar or whatever research site and see the same stuff we posted. All of our references are there.
Yeah, so it was written actually by primarily by my nutritionist, Thomas Lackey, who's got his master's in nutritional science. Yeah. And so he's just spent the last 3 years doing nothing but writing research studies and citing, so he's like fresh in his mind with it. Yeah. It's not debatable, and anyone that understands the way, and even more so because you'd have highly branched cyclodextrins. They're like a conic structure. We use beta cyclodextrins, meaning there's seven glucose rings. Okay. So you take your like a road cone, right? Yep. It's like that. Okay. A big, huge road cone. All this glucose molecules. What's even better though is it's hydrophilic on one side and hydrophobic on the other side. I mean, one side likes water, one side doesn't like water, and so things can get trapped in there, and they stay in there until it sees water again. So imagine amino acid getting sucked in there. Yeah. It stays in there. Now enough of those glucose molecules get plucked off that water gets back inside. What happens? That reverses the hydrophobic nature of those amino acids now into the bloodstream. And this is already used in a different form. If anyone's used Febreze. Yeah. Febreze is 7-ring highly branched cyclodextrins. Yeah. Why is it Febreze and forget it? Because you spray those things on the stink molecule. The stink molecule gets trapped in the cone. Yep. And stays that way, you can forget it. And then days later, weeks later, months later, you add some water, reverses that hydrophobic nature. The stink goes into the towel, Yeah, and there's even more science to this.
I would like to put a plug in for Febreze if they would like to sponsor our YouTube channel. Then Justin will be happy to sell some Febreze for everybody out there too.
Stocks just went up.
Yeah.
So I'd love long term to see that because we have a better product than what's on the sidelines, and it's silly because what's on the sidelines everyone knows that's not the best ideal. because they studied that and changed. They didn't use that formulation because it wasn't ideal.
It's just so well marketed.
Yeah, as I drink myself.
Well, and I when we first started too. I use this analogy that I think that's our first phase is like the intense athlete, that's our core customer base right now, like the competitor, the physique sport, et cetera. But, kind of my vision for what's in Justin's brain and our formulations, right, is that the similar, like how Michael Jordan had his shoe, right? And you could be the background, backyard baller and just never see a real actual basketball game. And you could wear the same exact shoes.
Right.
So like, why is it not like that in the supplement industry? Why can't we design, products for the elite athletes, the best of the best with the highest grade quality, and then provide the education for people to know the difference so that they go and get the products we have to help them. Because it's like, maybe it is that person that has 2-3 kids, working the job or two, and then they're trying to squeeze a workout in and they take a crappy pre-workout or whatever the case is. Maybe they don't need a pre-workout. Maybe they need an intra because it would help fuel their workouts, or any, of our products. Maybe there's a suppressor just to help them with their diet and glucose regulation. So there's a lot of things. So that's kind of the
50% of us are going to die of obesity-related illness, and nearly every one of those are going to have metabolic disease with diabetes.
Right.
And suppressor, and then what I'm really excited for is Suppressor Max, and I think we're going to get, again, we won't be able to fund a 10,000 person study, but we will have clear data that once again, and the research is already showing it. It's mostly in rats, but the research showing it, and that's not even the full formulation. That's just the berberine with this additional compound. We're going to have this product that is arguably better than metformin, a prescription medication in a population that is ever increasingly diabetic. Wow. And we can, and I have multiple diabetic patients right now who are improving their A1C, lowering their blood sugar, and getting off metformin just because it's suppressed.
And I think we're still looking for, right, going back to the Nike analogy, like we know we have the Nike shoe, right? We have the shoe. So now it's like, who's the athlete that aligns with our values and our integrity that's going to partner with us to get that out there? So that's the next thing, right? And then last thing is the education, like on the difference between what we do and how it can do that. Is it a Spike Lee commercial with a pro bodybuilder? Is that what it is, or is it just?
We were reaching out to long neck or wide neck. I don't know if you guys know.
Long neck.
Yeah,
like the Instagram.
If you're listening, long neck, we would love you to. We'll put some size on you.
Amazing.
So I think that that's the overall kind of thing is like still. Protect the core, like our core customer base, still design everything for them that speaks to them and helps them execute at that high level. Yep. But then how can we, slowly integrate into those other mass markets or, mainstream, if you will, or the general fitness people that are just looking to get some stuff. It's like, hey, it's going to make a difference. Like you can still use these things and get great benefit.
Another thing that we've said multiple times, so I can't backtrack on it, and we'll probably regret later, but to this point, we plan to forever. We are as we improve manufacturing costs. And as you scale and can produce larger runs and you can source larger chunks of material, your production goes down. We have currently and have plans to in perpetuity put all of that return to the customer. And we recently just did that. We improved our manufacturing on WTF and field rations, and 100% of that cost reduction, which was over 10% of the cost. Wow. We rather than taking a 10% higher profit, we return that all to the customer. Wow. And that goes back to that. We want if we can scale, it's a long scale because it's a big world. If we can get to that point and get the outreach, especially these main products that have a reach beyond just bodybuilding and powerlifting into the general health, make it so that not only do they know about it, but they can afford it. And talk about affording rather than buying a prescription medication like metformin, which the patent is gone, so it's not really expensive. But you can potentially get a glucose, an insulin product that improves insulin sensitivity better than the leading type 2 diabetic medication at a lower cost without a prescription. Yeah. As I say that, if the DA is listening and they find out, is that really true? Yeah. Let's make sure that's prescription by tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, and I think like the thing that you were talking about, I mean, we're talking rough and tough, I don't know, 6 to 8 months. We've been kind of working hard at that and already were able to make one improvement, one pretty big, substantial price drop. And then I'll have to give a shout out to Amber, my wife, because she's also a little bit of a shark with the manufacturer. Yeah. She's got a way, man, to where she'll whittle them down without them even knowing what happened, to where Justin and I would just probably blow them out, to where I'm like, they just thanked you and you got our costs down. Like, so anyways, I think that's a great point, because we're trying to, balance between getting the message out, keeping the ingredients solid, and making sure it's a product that a lot of people could take advantage of,
And then as for sale of the product, is it like straight through e-com? I know you mentioned you're in some retailers.
Yeah, we're trying to get more wholesale. We'd love to be on more shelves. We're on Walmart.com. We're like working on a proposal for GNC currently, but primarily retail through our website, firstdetachment.com, 1ST. Or if you Google First Detachment and type it anyway, it should come up. Or my website, Detachment Nutrition. I sell it also. Yeah, that's but it's primarily that.
Yeah,
and
go ahead.
I have a hard time talking about this because, I really want people. We have videos, and we're working on videos to really explain the ingredients. Because I grew up in the my core supplement buying years were the '90s years, where they were where it was just snake oil, terrible salesmen, and I
selling dog shit.
Exactly, you know, and so and I can imagine, if I didn't know anything about the science or the ingredients, I can imagine listening to myself thinking those things. So we really don't trust anything I say. You can go to the site, you can see the videos, you can look up the links, you can see the data yourself. You know, we're not out here to doing. I don't want to badmouth any old supplement companies, but we're not adding 75 grams of dextrose to a creatine product and saying it's magic, you know.
Right.
There's a lot of that out there. Yeah. Interesting.
You need videos to visualize what's happening. Like when you say there's a column.
Yeah.
100%.
That's a.
When you were saying that, I'm like, even in this, the way we'll cut this is like with some of those interesting, like whatever the compounds are you're talking about, actually seeing that visual. Because I think a lot of people in the space are just way more interested in or they've just been conditioned to look at who's using this? Oh, I like that person. Yeah. Okay, I kind of trust what they say by association, rather than actually really understanding the science behind what they're taking.
That's brilliant. Yeah, see, that's why you guys know what you're doing.
Yeah.
100%. As you were talking about codes,
but that's the other problem.
Like,
for 20 years, I built Detachment Nutrition doing the website myself, every graphic myself. I don't know how. I don't have context for any of this stuff, and so it's such a new world for me. I feel like we have I know we have the best stuff, so much so that I want to scream from the mountaintops because I see these other companies who aren't reading the research pushing. Because you read the abstract, what it says, higher bioavailability or whatever, and then running with it. When if you read the rest, you learn that it doesn't matter, and no one else is doing it. So I want to get this information to people.
One thing I wanted to mention too, because you mentioned about distribution. So a lot of our retail partners, especially, we kind of have two phases where we don't make any money if we do seminars. So we actually lose money on it. So in the Midwest, it's a lower cost because obviously that's where we live. But we do travel. Like we did a seminar in Texas. People paid to go there. We paid for it to be recorded, edited, all that. It's on our YouTube channel, the whole seminar free.
Yeah.
And so we're going to, as long as someone's one of our retail partners, we'll do our best to provide that educational content either digitally or, we've traveled around and we have, I think we tend to kind of aim for about one every about 6 weeks right now. As long as our wives keep putting up with it, we might squeeze it to 3 or every 4 weeks. But so that's one other thing that's really important to us, why we are growing, the people who are loyal to us and connecting with us and supporting us and carrying our stuff. we want to go
kind of that boots on the ground.
Yeah. And just get out there and help them. And, they can listen to Justin go on for as long as every seminar we do goes an hour and a half longer.
Yeah.
And we haven't really fully expanded on all the topics we could be covering with other speakers. With my background, that's a little different than Justin's. And we have a couple other of our athletes that are have their niche. And so we're still kind of flushing that out, the details, but right now it's a very high value seminar that we bring to people. We just tell the gym owners make your money on it, or maybe it's just a value add to your membership base.
Sure.
Thank you for carrying our product. We'd rather meet people, shake hands. We were at a bodybuilding event.
I want people to know this stuff because I was once a kid obsessed with learning this stuff and unable to find information on it.
Yeah.
I had to go the route of anatomy and physiology textbooks.
Right.
And
that's then getting all the ingredients and then making it yourself.
And so I don't want to another company on Team Troponin. I don't want to push another one too much, but because it is a paid site. But Troponin or TeamTroponin.com for $19.99 a month. We have hundreds of hours of additional information on PEDs, supplements, nutrition, more in-depth stuff on all the supplement stuff. We have Daniel Lamartina is a doctor of physical therapy. We have David Lamartina, a top-level powerlifter, writing on there. We have Paul Barnett, Big Paul, anabolic bodybuilding on YouTube, writing on there. And we have really, really, really good content on there. And obviously that's a paid site, but the content is then correlated to a paid site.
Yeah. That's amazing. And are you guys going direct? You mentioned gym, like getting in with the gyms with the seminars. Like, would you go direct to like sell in certain chains of like fitness centers, or are you just thinking to go straight like retail route in terms of like storefront, brick and mortar?
Yeah, I think a combination of both. So it'll be between storefront and gyms. We try chains we haven't really got into quite as much, but we have a few right now that we're in discussions with. That's more of like a regional thing to start, and then expand from there. And if there's a way we can capitalize on it, or like what's really unique recently, we talked to a couple of gyms in one centrally located area, and we encourage them like, hey, why don't you guys come together, like put together a group seminar, like your members, and we'll come in. And that's kind of in the works right now. So for those that know each other, because it's a small community, most of them worked out at the same place before they owned it or whatever. And so that's kind of something we do as well.
Yeah.
So.
For most people, for the average listener, what would be your best recommended supplement out of your line to get somebody started on your product?
Field rations.
Field rations?
Yeah, I mean, it supplies, it's 10 grams of essential amino acids, 25 grams of carbohydrates, 20 of which are high molecular weight carbohydrates. It's got sodium and potassium, along with L-taurine. Essentially, every single thing your body would need to recover from a strength training or hypertrophy workout and maximize muscle protein synthesis from that strength training workout. I mean, it's just everything exactly what you need. It's like my baby, like this is, I've been, thinking about this since like 2005, 2006, like we said, we used to formulate the stuff separately ourselves. Back then you couldn't even get highly branched cyclodextrins, but
no, we used
wood glue.
We used maltodextrin, waxy maize, and then there's a good wood glue story.
Haven't heard the wood glue story probably. Hasn't been around. So when we were testing this is how deep this goes.
Okay.
Like one thing I will promise is that I will never put a shit product out. My supplement or my coaching company makes money. I have commercial real estate. If this is a passion project that dies in the end, and I just wasted way too much of my life, there's some principles I won't set back on. I won't put out a shit product. I just won't, because I bought shit products as a kid, and it bothered me to this day that someone I trusted lied about what the ingredients did, like HMB and things like that. And
that's a memory.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that was money I did not have, to spend on that did not work. I refused to do that. So we won't get into pro steroids or pro hormones that are going to get banned in 3 weeks or that don't work and just kill your liver. We're going to put together things that actually work. But field rations for sure is like, yeah. And then, field rations and then suppressor, and then especially suppressor max is what I'm most proud of. I'm most proud of suppressor max, because to me that's going to be our mic drop moment, where not only, because we're going to say, hey, you know how all you guys have been going towards dihydroberberine because it's higher bioavailability? You didn't read the studies, because if you did, you would have learned that just because its bioavailability is higher does not mean it correlates to improved blood glucose levels. But this product we have, if you would have read these studies, you would see it does. And it improves blood glucose levels over berberine alone by 20 to 22.5%, making it essentially more effective than metformin.
Can you explain briefly just to people out there, why should they care about blood sugar levels? I think sometimes we may gaze over that, but there might be someone out there that's kind of like, okay, it's lower, why do I care?
Yeah, the different levels. Every fat person that's terribly out of shape, high blood sugar levels, right?
What's a high blood sugar level in a number base? Like, is there a set standard across the board?
Yeah, but this is where it gets crazy, because it's like there's H1C is really the number. It's like kind of basically gives you a blood sugar over time, but like a fasted reading over 100 is too high. And what does that mean? The average person has about 6 liters of blood in their body. So you have 100 milligrams per deciliter is the reading. So if your blood sugar is 100, well, if you do the unit conversion, you get 6 grams of sugar in your blood, whole body. That's what high blood sugar is. You're on the verge of becoming type 1 diabetic with 6 grams of sugar in your body. Now, what's low blood sugar? You wake up 70. That's lower than it's supposed to be, right? You do that same conversion, that's 4.8, so about 5.
Okay.
So 6 grams of sugar in your body, you're gonna die young. 4.8, you're going to live a long time. That's how you don't got room to fuck around, you know?
That's not a big margin there.
Yeah. And so what does it do? Well, if your blood sugar's high, you're not going to oxidize fat for energy. Why? Because you don't need to, because there's sugar everywhere. So your body composition goes to crap. What'll end up happening, like the full cascade is going to be you store more body fat because at any given calorie intake, you're going to have a higher percentage of those calories burned from glucose because you have that extra glucose in your bloodstream. So any excess calories you eat are going to be more preferentially stored as body fat. Your body fat levels are going to climb. Then what's the next thing that happens? Body fat is very tightly correlated to, obviously body composition, but anabolism. The male body is most anabolic in the 8 to 12% body fat range. And I've done this like 5 podcasts in a row, so hopefully people aren't annoyed with this. But everyone knows someone in their 20s. You can think back in your early 20s. And you had like a fat buddy who had obviously gone through puberty, right?
Yep.
Had almost no chest hair, had like a neck beard, and moobs, right?
Yeah.
Man boobs.
Yeah, yeah.
Why? Because his body fat was so high, his testosterone production was reduced. And on top of that, the testosterone he did produce was more likely to be aromatized to estrogen. So it was higher estrogen. And that's all linked to high blood sugar. And then that's just looks, though, and muscle. And so you can say,
I was always a kid with the Dunkaroos.
So you can say, look, I don't care if I got bitch tits and I can't dunk a basketball. My version of health is how long I live. Well, elevated blood sugar damages blood vessels. And that's why diabetics lose their feet. That's why they lose their eyesight. That's why they have problems with their hands, neuropathy.
Kidneys. Yeah.
It blows out your kidneys. And your kidneys don't regenerate. You know, you can beat up your liver. And anyone who's been to college or gone out with buddies knows that you can put a hurting on your liver. Right. And it's very good at regenerating. Your kidneys don't work that way. You tear out the kidneys with high blood sugar blood year after year after year. Your kidney function decreases. And this is a whole cascade. Your kidney function decreases, your blood fluid levels accumulate in your body, your heart has to pump against more blood, meaning it's pumping harder, your blood pressure goes up, the thickness of the heart muscle increases. And the way the heart works is that the muscle grows inside the heart, not outside. So your cavity gets smaller, your heart rate goes faster, your blood pressure goes up higher.
Fit in there.
It just keeps compounding. Eventually the heart, the only thing it can do is try to dilate, and that's called dilated cardiomyopathy, and that's the start of heart failure, and that ends up with pulmonary edema and death. Wow. And so so no matter what, whether you want to look good, live a long time, or keep your legs, or keep your eyesight, or anything, I mean, blood sugar is a pandemic, like a true pandemic in America and in first world societies right now. Yeah. So you saw how it's not like, oh, my blood sugar just climbed a little bit, I'll be fine. Low blood sugar, you have 4.8 grams of sugar in your body. High blood sugar, you have 6.
Right.
So you don't have room for error.
Well, I think there's 2 other things you mentioned there too with 2 of our products. So QRF is a liver support product that Justin formulated, and then Renal Reset for the kidneys. A couple reasons why those are important, but one, like the strain you put on just through exercise can cause some extra issues there. That helps kind of with filtration and repair there, as Justin talked about with the liver repair. Like that QRF really helps speed that up.
I actually
detoxify some things.
I'd like to post the results, but I have all my clients that get blood work with elevated blood sugar get on QRF. And I've got several at this point now who had AST and ALT in triple digits over 100. Yep. Who are all normal now. Normal, right? Yeah. Normal, provided they haven't trained within 3 or 4 days. Yeah. But even if they train the day before the blood work, they're still mildly elevated, like 40 or 50, as opposed to like 100 to 150.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of application from it or with it. So you use the example of like the male with the high body fat and higher aromatase, which is higher estrogen in his blood. Well, guess where estrogen's methylated, which basically means how do you get estrogen out of your body for men and women? Through the liver. So that's, it helps work that more efficient. So quick little sidetrack, because one of my focuses is on like women's health and hormones. So I'm doing some coaching with that. Because of my background in the medical field, but you could have a female, for example, that's producing a low amount of estrogen, but because the methylation or detox process of getting estrogen out of the body actually shows up with like estrogen dominant symptoms. So that's where they're having a lot of issues like elongated menstrual cycles, pains, cramps, acne, low libido, all these different kind of issues they can have from that. But just the like that QRF would be one of a couple things that would help, but that would be something to help. So that's not main customer right now, but coming from my background, like in the medical field and seeing the blood test, looking at testing of like hormone metabolites, and you can see like when it breaks down and how it breaks down. We have a few products that are applicable for some people because we actually have quite a few physicians and naturopathic or functional medicine people that are looking at some of those products saying, hey, I got a different application. Like I know your guys' main market is this, but because just to kind of take a sidestep, I was just in a health food store and it's elderly population mainly shopping there. And I explained, we're not going to put the big jack dude in your store as our marketing. But you have this product with like just saw palmetto in it. That's cool. Our formulation though has multiple different ingredients that helps that work even better, which in those singular products, they're not making it that way because that's not their target, right? So ours has all those things in there. So if you take our QRF, our renal reset, and there's a couple others that we're actually seeing some application there. Again, not going to be our core customer we're marketing to, but there is a lane there. And then fast forward that if you are that bodybuilder, maybe you're doing additional things from a performance enhancement standpoint that are putting a strain in your liver, kidney, help mitigate some of that. Maybe you're having a higher levels of estrogen, it'll help mitigate some of that. But these are just all things that compounded effective, but with Justin's background, formulate those to work.
I want to go back one last tie-in to the three people who are actually still listening. Sorry if I've been talking too much, everyone. But to tie it back to the blood sugar, the liver controls how liver glycogen. I didn't say no one was listening because of you. I said it's because of me. You look like you motherfucker.
No, I was waiting to see where you're going with it. That's all.
But no, so you said like the blood sugar, why is it important? Here's another reason why it's important. If you damage the liver, alcoholism, things like that, the liver controls the release of liver glycogen to maintain stable blood glucose levels. Like we haven't eaten in a couple hours, right? Why are we not crashing? Why are not blood sugar not crashing? Because our liver is releasing stored liver glycogen in the form of glucose in the body. Well, when you damage the liver, your liver gets worse at that.
Right.
And actually 58% of alcoholics, when they stop alcohol, report cases of hypoglycemia.
Really?
Yeah, because they do anything and exert any exercise, that blood sugar gets released. The liver's all beat up from years of boozing. It can't stabilize it.
Right.
So that ties it back again. QRF improves that, and then the suppressor improves the glucose control.
Interesting.
So I mean, like, obviously we're focused on bodybuilding, but this stuff is
applicable across the board.
Yeah, especially in an aging, fattening, aging America.
Yeah, that is the true pandemic, is obesity.
Right.
What are you trying to say?
No, you guys look good.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
I appreciate that.
Do you guys want to give your plugs? I know you mentioned them earlier, like where everybody can find stuff and how to get more information.
1D, firstdetachment.com, 1ST, detachment.com. If you just Google First Detachment, it'll come up. That's the supplements. If you go to troponennutrition.com, that's my coaching service. If you go to teamtroponin.com, that's my education website. I used to be able to just Google Justin Harris, but then some jackass about a decade ago went and killed his whole family. Who also happened to be named Justin Harris. I'm working my way back up the SEO level. Yeah. That's been long enough. I'm close to overtaking jackass Justin Harris.
Well, and our YouTube is youtube.com/ at First Detachment, so 1ST. And then
if you just search First Detachment Nutrition, it pops as the first one on YouTube.
Yeah. And then my handles are Joe Miller 1D. I made it really simple for everybody. And then my website that I'll be doing coaching and educational content in partnership with Justin is joemiller1d.com. So it's actually going live in the next couple of days. Right now, just capturing emails and all that fun stuff. But I made it simple. I was like, I'm not very creative with my names, like Troponin Nutrition. So I thought about back in the day doing like tropomyosin, because that's the other. But then I would definitely be stealing his thought process, because it's that's part of the whole process of where the
I'm
Troponin
terrible
came
with
from.
names. I'm Troponin Nutrition. On Twitter, I'm Boo Boo Tittyfuck 69.
What's your OnlyFans plug? You got those out there?
I can't think of my feet.
The bear.
It is foot content, right?
Yeah. Small hands, small. Yeah.
Small,
No,
nice,
big hands, small penis.
There's a big market for that, I think. Yeah, something like that. And last, what do you guys have coming up? Obviously, you got the new product release coming up. What else can people look forward to over the next little bit for you?
Long term, do you want to like what the long-term goals? It's hard because we're in production hell right now. We're growing and scaling so fast. Anyone who's been a fan of the site know that we're sold out of products pretty often.
And production, is that done in the U.S.? Is it done offshore?
US.
Like it's all done in the U.S.
Done in the U.S. Quality control in the U.S. Third-party tested in the U.S. As a veteran-founded company, we thought that was very important to maintain.
Right.
And we obviously eat it on cost, but hopefully people appreciate that. You could trust, and you can trust our stuff. And that's another thing I hate, because Dante Trudell from True Nutrition had about 5 or 6 years ago went through and third-party tested a whole line of supplements. None of them met label claim. Right? And why would you? You can get stuff from China, Alibaba.
Sure.
Who knows? You're getting
how hard is it to find a good source?
It's not hard to find them.
No,
it's hard to get in because the volume.
Yeah, it's not hard to find them, but it's easier to find. It's
a cheaper option, alternative.
Yeah, and for that's kind of what, like, from the capital standpoint, right? Like, we had to trust that people are going to appreciate the care we put into the products and just really double down and, as we say, be all in on these larger,
we're not
these larger
producing in
batches.
Thailand and shipping over here and calling it good.
Right.
We're producing in America,
and we're
going through quality control in America. We're third-party testing in America.
Yeah, one of the top manufacturers for our raw ingredients that's who we use. And to get in there, there's order minimums and things of that nature that, we
had to grow into.
Yeah.
And then, we have there's like an 8 to 10 week lead time. So we're not going to get priority. It's, it's
until you've got scale and volume.
And so we have to guesstimate what our sales are based on this month for 3 months, there was a period where 3 months in a row we doubled we were 100% growth month over, and every month for the past 4 months or 5 months has been our biggest month ever.
That's awesome.
Our sleep product hit the rack. That'll be popping up again in about a week or two, but we did sell out unexpectedly, and in that time, we ended up reformulating on this next run. And again, it wasn't something that was bad with the first one. It was just based on some customer feedback and then some, further research. It was like, we can refine it a little bit. So it costs us a little more. The retail price didn't change, but now there's a little less fluid needed to drink it.
Yep.
From the taste profile, we added L-theanine to it, which is just an extra aid for kind of the whole ingredient list that we have for sleep. And I don't know if we talked about it on a podcast or someone posted, and it just like I said, it just blew out to where it outran our forecasting, that we were like, oh no, we got to do this. But
and how is navigating that? Like, that must be obviously tough. Like, you guys are like,
it's terrible.
I don't know how much we're going to sell.
We're like, okay, this is our biggest month ever. Let's assume that we have 50% growth month over month and make that order. Okay, we'll never hit that. We're going to eat money on that, but eventually they'll sell. Holy shit, we have 100% month over month of growth. Now it's okay. Now take every penny we have, every penny on the credit card, every financing we can get, and throw it all in. There's no way that can't be. And then it
exceeds expectations,
which is awesome. Which is awesome.
But it's that risk you take, like at the start of the conversation when you're like, every day's the risk. Like that
lay it all on the line, because if we don't have month over month growth like that, then but we have like other things we want to, a lot of things we want to produce. We have a nootropic formulated, a stim-free pre-workout formulated, a field ration sport formulated. When I say formulated, like, we obsess about this stuff.
I can imagine.
If anyone's, I used to computer program when I was an engineer, or what's someone who does like graphic design. You know how you like do 17,000 versions? Only you know the difference between the 17. No one.
Jackson knows.
That's what it is. It's like, will anyone ever notice this? No.
But you have to go to sleep at night knowing.
But I know this is better, whether they know or not.
Now at least my wife's used to it and she appreciates it. But she would handle all the logistics and making of the labels and stuff.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, like, Justin's like, hey, by the way, this is this, we should tweak this, and da-da. And she's like, I'm going to kill him. Yeah. I'm just going to, now she's used to it. So she just knows to
chop the process. Because like, you're not like you're not doing this research at like noon. You're working at noon. You're doing this research at like 2 a.m. when you can't sleep, and you read this article and you're like, "Holy shit!"
And it's going to print the next day.
This is amazing. Look, you know, then I shouldn't call. I should call. Let me just text.
But no, I mean, it's all part of the process now, but early on, it was just like, again, just that kind of, that commitment to like, how do I make it better? How do I make it better? How do I make it better? So, now it's part of the process.
But that's what I think will set you guys so far apart over time is that commitment to the client, the client really, because the product is what the client's going to be.
We're clients
consuming,
ourselves.
right? Yeah.
We, have all our stuff.
I drank my field rations in my workout this morning. I mean,
you're believers in your own.
Literally the reason this company is here is because I was sick of trying to find chunks of these from different companies and mix it myself. I mean, that's why it is, now my field rations is one scoop where it used to be like a whole room in my house.
Like this size, like I had bags and I was like this, another measuring cup of this. It's like, I got in a lot of trouble with my mom.
But there's a lot we want to do. We'd like to add to create, because you have to make concessions. We like field rations would be even better with creatine, but we're already the only inter-workout product that's producing a multi-carb intra-workout with amino acids with electrolytes. You get some people producing amino acids or an electrolyte mixture or a highly branched cyclodextrin mixture, but no one's producing all of it. I mean, Hostel's producing close, but no, and so, like I love to add creatine to it, but we're already asking someone to trust the science, and we'd like to add a creatine product. We'd like to do like a real food product because I hate protein drinks.
Okay.
Because
what would you do? Like, what would be the alternative?
A slower digestion protein. The reason I hate protein drinks is because if you break it down, say you convert 1 gram of protein to muscle protein synthesis per hour every day.
Okay.
Roughly 25 or 24.
Yep.
So you're eating like 300 grams of protein or 200 grams. If only 25 grams of those actually build muscle, that's 200 pounds of muscle in 10 years. So we don't convert any of it, you know? So when you drink a whey isolate that digests in an hour and a half, you drink a 50-gram whey isolate and drink it in an hour and a half. The most of that you can actually convert to new muscle is 1.5 grams, which means 48.5 grams of it was just basically a shitty carbohydrate. So I refuse to do that. I do. I know that the consumer might not know that, and most supplement companies might not care that the consumer doesn't know or might not know it themselves. But I know that, and I refuse to do that. So we'd like to produce a slower release protein. Some kind of mixture of like whey, casein. Ideally, I'd like whole food, like egg. Okay. Maybe even some Gemma protein, like pea protein, with beef protein, combined with oat powder and sweet potato, and then some kind of like a healthy, like a fat, like a cashew type fat, and basically make a full meal replacement. I mean, you could do the protein powder, just the protein powder. And again, the problem
with the macro split that kind of works on that.
Yeah, but again, the problem is, how do you market that? I can get whey concentrate super cheap.
Sure.
And I'd say it digests fast. Don't I want that? You
can get all max all max mass gainer. That's it's
because it's easier to market that the wrong things are good. It's easier to market digest super fast.
Right.
Because the consumer doesn't mean that means you're just drinking a carbohydrate.
Yeah. But that's how you market it is by saying it doesn't work.
Yeah.
You have to go like anti-industry almost.
So it's really but again, come hell or high water or whatever, I don't know, failure or whatever. I refuse to do that. We know it works. I can't lie like that when it just feels too slimy.
It's inauthentic to what you believe.
Well, you're at short term, I think over the next 90 days we have like 4 seminars lined up. So we're excited for that. Like I said, we invest our own money into the capture it for our audience. So it'll all be free after those seminars. So, not only are we excited to have people in person that can learn this stuff and then apply it how they see fit. But we'll also have.
And there are these seminars geared mainly towards like sales team members of certain, or are they open to the public?
Education.
Anybody can come in.
Yeah,
okay.
Cool.
They can ask anything and everything. So
Sweet.
we talk about, performance nutrition and things like that.
Yep.
But if they want to get into training, like I said, whatever the case is, just based on our team's like vast knowledge that's there, we've had people, talk stuff you wouldn't even think about. And we happen to have someone on the team that's either worked in that field or credentialed in that area that can speak to it. So
yeah. I mean, I'm just a firm believer. Like, I'm a Tesla fan in general, and like their approach is, yes, you can cheat the consumer by lying to them, but at the end of the day, and Warren Buffett had the same thing. If the liars and the con men just knew how much money there was by doing the right thing, there'd be a lot less liars and cheaters. Because you can cheat someone once, or you can cheat someone once, you can lie to them several times, you know. But you can't create a lifetime customer that way,
right?
You know, and that's that. So that's what we're doing with these. Is we're giving away free education. I mean, like high level, free. You know, on whatever topic, nutrition. You know, and the hope is that people will understand that this sport is a huge part of who I am. And I've talked about that, you know, like there's two phases of my life. There was before I learned about working out, and there's after I learned about working out, and how much it changed my life, you know, learning that I dictated how my life went, you know, learning that, you know, like I could get stronger. I learned that was the first time in my life that I learned, like, well, you put pressure against something and you are no longer the same. And I decide how long and how much pressure I put on it and how different I want to become.
Yeah.
It was really important for me, and I want as many people to have that as possible.
That's super cool. Amazing, guys.
And then at the end of each seminar, there's a karaoke and dance contest.
Is there actually?
No, but Joe, you can't stop him.
Sometimes just happens. Just, you know, sometimes halfway through.
Natural progression.
Well, I got to say one last quick little story.
Yeah,
so
of
Justin
course.
at our last seminar in Texas, he's laughing, everyone's talking, and he just gets up and shoots out. And I don't know if you're familiar, your audience might be Steve Kuklo. You know, he's an IFBB pro, top Olympia guy. He's who we trained with in our early years. And anyways, so he's up talking, he's doing his talk, and everyone's engaged, and you see Justin shoot out really quick. And they're like, what's going on? He had some bad...
I had food poisoning.
Yeah, he had some bad IHOP. He had food poisoning, so he barfs everywhere in the bathroom. I run out, go to the gym owner. I'm like, where's the mop? Where's this? We clean, you know, clean it all up.
Yeah.
Comes back 2.5 hours of the seminar.
No way.
Still, no, I will say the one, you know, and then after that, we like part of the seminar. Sometimes like everybody will train with him, and then we went and did that after.
Oh, yeah, I didn't train,
but I wasn't gonna call you.
I was dying of food poisoning.
But he hung around and talked to
Well, you're
everybody
used to it
after.
from the leg days back in the early days, just throwing up all the time. It was like alphabets again.
Like everyone in the
Alphagetti.
seminar was just like, wow, you know, like this guy's clearly not feeling well. Went back to his hotel room and stayed until the flight the next morning. Yeah. But I just think, you know, a lot of people appreciate that. You can see it on the video. We didn't cut that out on the video.
I have Bose lines from that weekend.
Oh yeah,
Bose lines like indentation across all your fingernails.
Yeah.
Have you heard of that?
I've heard. Yeah.
It's a like sign of severe stress and illness.
Yeah.
Your fingernails stop growing. Because that whole trip we did. What we do? Texas, California.
Yeah, we went on Power Project.
Texas, Power Project, then back to Detroit for Merrick, and all of those. So it was Texas with food poisoning, throwing up, get home that day, fly out to California, give that podcast, then flew through the night back home with the time change, 0 sleep. And if anyone who's a bodybuilding coach knows that client emails don't stop. So I walked right in, hadn't slept, had food poisoning, did the seminar. I had to work a full day, and then the next morning had to be up at 5 to drive back to Detroit to do the Merrick Health stuff. Right. And so if you see, there's on my Instagram, if you see me talking about chocolate eggs or baking soda, and I look like I'm just dying. That's why my face is. I look terrible. It's embarrassing, and I get comments like, "Oh, I'm supposed to listen about health from this guy." It's like I was literally dying. Man. I'm still out there grinding.
It was IHOP.
Oh God, I can't even say that word.
Brutal. Oh, that's rough. Well, thank you guys so much for coming in, Joe, Justin. Anything else you guys wanted to mention before we call it? How are we doing for time here, Dylan?
2 hours and 15 minutes.
Holy, rocked it.
I'll talk forever.
We run out of card space, and we're still rolling. Pretty close. Nice.
Yeah, I just encourage people to look us up, check out our content. You know, we're not gimmicky or trying to flash sale or hook them. It's all about the education. Education and engagement. We're having fun with what we're doing. Clearly, we're putting it. You can't put these amount of hours. You can't fake this stuff, right?
Yeah.
We're passionate about it. This is who we are. We love every minute of it. And so the others that love every minute of it with us, great. Jump on. Let's do it. So
amazing. Thanks so much, guys. Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. That's a wrap.